Marvel, I have Black Myth Wukong templates. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 26. Hong Kong is in trouble. Tony goes to Hong Kong. Space technology. Tony was very interested. How great would it be if he could master it? And it can be used not only on Earth, but also in the exploration of the universe. This is definitely a good thing. However, even a person like Nick came to seek his help, which means that this cosmic cube is not so easy to get back. After all, the Mandarin is a dangerous person who has both magic and a scientific mind. Tony pondered. He was hesitant, but then he thought that the Mandarin was going to Hong Kong, and Hong Kong is a Chinese place, and he might be involved with Sun Wukong. And the origin of Sun Wukong's power made him more interested than the cosmic cube. So, after some hesitation, Tony decided to go to Hong Kong. Jarvis, check the surveillance and gamma rays on the recent planes and ships from the United States to Hong Kong, and look for the Mandarin. Tony ordered. According to the information provided by Nick, the cosmic cube emits gamma rays, and the Mandarin was smuggling it, so there was no equipment to shield it. As long as we search in this direction, we can find the trace of the Mandarin. Okay, sir. Jarvis replied. Immediately, it began to execute. Tony's thoughts were clear, analyzing the situation of the Mandarin. He took great pains to steal the cosmic cube, probably for the spatial power contained in it. However, a dangerous person like him will never do anything good with such power. We must stop him as soon as possible. Tony had a bad feeling in his heart. Then, he touched the reactor on his chest and said, at present, the energy of this reactor is still too low. We have to change it to a high power one. Tony was originally a little proud and complacent that he could develop such a small reactor. But until he saw the video of Sun Wukong, he began to feel that the energy of the reactor on his chest was too weak. It didn't even have the power of the opponent's stick. I have to upgrade the reactor, Tony murmured, stroking the glowing reactor. On the other side, in the garden, a golden light flashed, and Lin Feng appeared in the yard. Then, he removed the role of Tathagata Buddha. Shenhua was restrained, and gradually turned back to his own appearance. Lin Feng raised his mouth and smiled. The purpose of this trip to the Ministry of State Security has been achieved. Let the Buddha Tathagata appear, which completely confirmed what he said in the lecture at that time. The next plot is that Loki leads the Chitauri army to attack the Earth, right? Lin Feng analyzed. I remember that the battle should take place in New York. However, Thor is now in China, and the Monkey King I played also stopped Loki's plan, so he should hate Monkey King and Thor. Therefore, he should set the location of the Chitauri army to appear in a certain city in China, so that it is convenient to deal with us first. Lin Feng thought secretly. However, he soon didn't think much about this matter. When that time comes, he will naturally know where it is. Now let's finish the information of Monkey King first. Lin Feng is now compiling the deeds of Monkey King. After all, his current job is to study the things of that ancient time. But this is a very easy thing for him. The scene changes. In an ancient palace, a hairless man in yellow clothes was looking at the starry sky. He was none other than Master Ancient One. Ancient One had a very white skin, a strange white color. He looked at the starry sky, thinking, and no one knew what he was thinking. But suddenly, he noticed something, and immediately looked to the east, which was the direction of the Xiangjiang temple. There seems to be danger there. Ancient One's face became serious. As the supreme mage on Earth, he had the responsibility to protect the Earth. Immediately, he did not hesitate, and immediately activated the Eye of Agamotto, trying to predict the future and see what would happen. However, after he activated it, he could not see anything, only darkness. He suddenly opened his eyes, and there was some sweat on his forehead. I can't see it, what's going on? Ancient One was surprised. He rarely had such a reaction. This shouldn't happen. Could it be related to the appearance of Sun Wukong in China? Ancient One thought of this. When Sun Wukong appeared at that time, he also used the Eye of Agamotto to see where Sun Wukong came from. But he could not see anything. This happened again. Gu Yui pondered for a moment and felt that this was a possibility. Immediately, he no longer hesitated, turned around and walked into the palace, and said to a fat man, "Wang, Xiangjiang temple is in danger, let's go quickly. No matter what the situation is, he has to go." Wang is the librarian of Kamataj, and has the function of selecting wizards. He is also Gu Yi's right-hand man. At this time, under Gu Yi's call, he immediately prepared to leave. The two of them opened the multi-dimensional door together, and entered the interlayer world. Go straight to Xiangjiang. At the same time, Tony's side. He is doing experiments to improve the reactor, and strengthen the reactor's energy. Concentrate the fission particles with the particle body channel, to increase the number of fissions, and then enhance the neutron body of palladium metal, to improve the energy transmission efficiency. Although this will cause neutron damage, there is no other way now. Let's try it first. He muttered to himself. Tony knew very well that this thing was embedded in his body. Although this kind of neutron damage would not cause much impact, there would be some problems after all. It's just that he didn't know what the problem was yet. However, he still needed to fight against a tough enemy, so he had to increase the reaction rate and energy conversion to enhance his strength. But at this moment, Jarvis's voice suddenly came. "Sir, I have locked onto the abnormal situation of gamma rays on a cruise ship from the United States to Xiangjiang, China. This cruise ship will arrive at the port of Xiangjiang in 10 minutes at most." Hearing this, Tony knew that time was running out. Once the cruise ship docked, the Mandarin would definitely start researching the cosmic cube. Who knows what would happen then? So, he had to be quick and stop the Mandarin. He picked up the reactor he had just made. Jarvis' voice sounded and reminded, "Sir, this new type of reactor has not been tested in advance and may cause harm to the body. It is recommended to test it first." "It's okay, let's do the test like this." Tony removed the original reactor on his chest and installed the new reactor. Suddenly, the reactor started to operate, emitting a dazzling white light. At the same time, an indescribable feeling spread from his chest. His body was trembling, and he felt a little uncomfortable. And there was a bitter feeling in his mouth. "Oh, my mouth is so bitter." Tony couldn't help but say. A moment later, a red and handsome steel armor flew into the sky and flew towards the direction of China Hong Kong at a high speed. Chapter 27. Mandarin arrives in Hong Kong. Group A is lying in ambush at this location. Group B is lying in ambush here. Group C is on standby at this location. If there is any unexpected situation, rush over to support immediately. We must not let the Mandarin terrorist organization escape. Chen Haitian has already arrived in Xiangjiang City. According to the intelligence received from his superiors, the Mandarin terrorist organization is likely to come to Xiangjiang City by cruise ship. Therefore, they are now making combat deployments for the port of Xiangjiang City. Chen Haitian does not know how big the trouble will be next. Woo woo woo, the huge cruise ship whistle sounded. This also means that the cruise ship has docked. After a while, the people on the cruise ship began to disembark. Some people are returning to their country with excited smiles on their faces about going home, while foreigners are traveling in Xiangjiang City or working here. For a time, there were more people in the port, and the flow of people was surging, bustling, and very lively. For the sake of safety, the Mandarin organization broke up into small pieces, disembarked in a dispersed manner, and each moved with the flow of people, waiting for the order to assemble. At this time, a middle-aged man wearing a sun hat, dressed in casual clothes, and carrying a black backpack, followed the crowd forward. He was the Mandarin. The Mandarin didn't know that the Chinese side had already made arrangements to arrest him. He just broke up the organization into pieces for safety reasons, and disguised himself. The Mandarin had a foothold in Hong Kong. At this time, someone was waiting for him outside the port, and he was about to meet the other party. When we get to a safe place, we will start preparing for the master's mission. The Mandarin thought to himself. He was controlled by Loki at this time, and Loki gave him the task of using the cosmic cube to open the space channel and let Thanos' Chitauri army descend on the Earth. However, he didn't know that he had been targeted by the Chinese official at this time. Report. The Mandarin was found. The subordinate reported. "Oh, where is he?" Chen Haitian's eyes lit up, and he hurried over to ask. "Director, look, this is the person." The subordinate pointed to the result on the computer. This is a picture taken by the surveillance. Among them was a foreigner wearing a sun hat and carrying a black backpack. The facial analysis results showed that he was 75% similar to the Mandarin. Chen Haitian looked at the footage captured by the surveillance camera and immediately realized that the other party was wearing makeup and wanted to sneak into Hong Kong City. Immediately, he picked up the intercom and said, "Attention, all teams, the Mandarin has disembarked and we are starting to move." The Mandarin kept walking, but as he walked, he suddenly found something wrong. Where were the people around him? He looked around. There was no one around, as if they had disappeared out of thin air. Not only that, there was no sound. There was a noisy sound coming from the cruise ship just now. The Mandarin was confused. But soon, he reacted suddenly, turned around in a hurry, and was about to return to the port. But as soon as he turned around, he saw a man in a suit coming over. The Mandarin frowned and stared at the other party, not knowing what the other party was up to. The man in the suit was Chen Haitian. Chen Haitian stopped and said to the Mandarin in front of him without saying much, "Mandarin, you have been surrounded by the Chinese military. Give up all resistance and surrender, and hand over the stolen goods you stole from the US Shield, and strive for leniency." Hearing this, Mandarin raised his mouth and said, "What if I don't surrender? Then there is only one way to die." Chen Haitian scolded. He raised his hand and waved, and immediately, armed soldiers appeared from all directions, collectively aiming at Mandarin. Chen Haitian's face was serious. He had learned about the information of this Mandarin. This is an extremely dangerous person. Therefore, if he refuses to surrender again, then order him to be shot to prevent any unexpected situation. Seeing such a formation, Mandarin sneered disdainfully, "Just relying on your bunch of shrimp soldiers and crab generals, you want to deal with me? Arrogant." This word popped up in Chen Haitian's mind. Immediately, he did not hesitate. In order to prevent any unexpected situations, he put his hand down and said, "Fire." Tutututu. Suddenly, dense gunshots rang out, and bullets were fired at the Mandarin, as if they were free. However, a green light bloomed from the Mandarin's body and turned into a green transparent sphere. Countless bullets hit the green light shield, but the huge impact force only made the light shield shake slightly. The light shield was 1 finger thick, and these bullets couldn't even penetrate half a centimeter, let alone break it. Chen Haitian took a breath and his eyes widened. Damn it. This Mandarin is also a transcendent. There was no record of it in the previous information. Seeing Chen Haitian's surprised look, the Mandarin sneered. Countless brass bullets were embedded in the green light shield, like a little bit of yellow flower spots. The surrounding soldiers were also surprised when they saw this scene, and they couldn't help but stop firing. If the previous Sun Wukong was an ancestor from the mysterious ancient times, then this Mandarin is a real modern man. But now he also has extraordinary powers. This really shocked them. Mandarin clapped his hands, the green light shield disappeared, and all the bullets fell to the ground with a crackling sound. Mandarin said, "I'm sorry, I'm in a hurry to do something important, and I don't have time to waste with you here. So, please die here." After that, Mandarin stretched out his hands, and the rings on his 10 fingers glowed green. Boom. But at this moment, a white energy beam shot over and hit Mandarin, but was blocked by a green light shield. Mandarin was fine, but his spell was interrupted. He looked up in the direction where the light came from. "I saw a red figure flying over." Mandarin frowned. Chen Haitian also saw the sudden light attack. He quickly looked over and immediately happy. "Is he here? Sun Wukong." However, he looked carefully and found that it was not quite like that. Sun Wukong used to appear as a red light, but this one seemed to be a figure. Could it be him? Chen Haitian instantly thought of a person. In the blink of an eye, the red figure came to the sky. Mandarin looked at the other party and said, "Tony Stark. It is indeed him." Chen Haitian thought to himself. He had already thought of it just now. Is he here to help? Chen Haitian thought. Tony looked at Chen Haitian first and nodded, as a greeting. Then, he looked at Mandarin again and said, "Mandarin, we finally meet." Tony and this Mandarin had a great hatred. He was kidnapped to the cave before, and it was the organization of Mandarin who wanted him to be a cow and horse and develop weapons. Stark. Mandarin smiled and said, "I suddenly regret it a little. I should have let my men kill you before. But you don't have this chance." Tony pointed his two hands at Mandarin, and his palms emitted a dazzling white light, which seemed to contain powerful power. Surrender and hand over what you stole from S.H.I.E.L.D., or you will die here, Tony said seriously. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 28. Recommend a good book on creativity. Book title: Others follow advice and imitate celebrities, but you start by playing the role of a god. Pen name: Shelter. Introduction: Lin Feng was born with a serious face, a fascinating gaze, and a majestic temperament. According to ancient books, this is the immortal appearance and imperial power. One day, a classmate happened to suggest that it is popular to imitate celebrities online, and some people even imitate Xiao Wu stepping on a sewing machine. He advised Lin Feng to seek advice from netizens online, and perhaps find a way out. Lin Feng has been listening to advice since he was a child, and started live broadcasting that day. Newcomers start broadcasting, seeking guidance from immortals. The anchor has an extraordinary temperament, and is majestic without anger. Why not try playing the role of a god? That makes sense. The anchor has an unusual face. You can go out and buy a cassock, play the role of Tathagata, and sit in front of the camera and knock on the wooden fish. Lin Feng followed the advice of netizens, bought props, costumes, makeup, learned about myths and folk customs, and finally decided to play the role of the thunder god Jiu Xianyang Yuan Lei Shengpu Hua Xianzun. When everything was ready, Lin Feng stepped on the 9 lights shoes, wore the robe of an immortal official, tied a lightning belt around his waist, and held a male and female whip in his hand. He seemed to have really turned into a god, sitting in front of the camera, attracting countless netizens to watch and tease him to show off his skills. I will use my command to match the creation of heaven and earth. Thunder God, help me. Until Lin Feng shouted, pinched his left hand, pointed to the sky with his right hand, and heard a boom of thunder. A flash of lightning streaked across the sky, and dark clouds surged in. Suddenly, all netizens were stunned. Are you serious, host? Search for the book title keywords, and pen name. You can find it. There is no way to link to a single chapter, so you can only search it manually. Chapter 29. Loki's visit. Boom. But just as Tony finished speaking, the Mandarin raised his hand and shot out a beam of light. Tony quickly dodged. The beam flew over and hit the advertising screen of a building, directly punching a hole. Tony's face, hidden under the head of the armor, darkened. He turned his head and looked at the Mandarin again, saying, then there is no room for negotiation. After that, he did not hesitate and settled the old and new grudges, diving towards the Mandarin. With a bang, he knocked him out and smashed into a store. Then he reminded Chen Haitian, you guys leave here quickly, you can't get involved in this battle anymore. After saying that, he quickly flew up and rushed to the store. Seeing this scene, Chen Haitian gritted his teeth, and the idea of creating a superhuman department in his heart became stronger. Let's go, retreat, let's leave here quickly. Leave the battlefield to Iron Man, he ordered loudly. The citizens around them had been evacuated by them in advance, and now they were the only ones left in this area. After a while, they evacuated to a safe area. Chen Haitian stood on a building, watching the battle in the distance ahead. Rumbling sounds were heard from time to time, and from time to time, bright white light could be seen hitting the sky, or hitting the building. Large pieces of glass and bricks shattered, and fragments fell down. Although the specific situation of the battle could not be seen, one could imagine how fierce the battle was over there just by imagining it. Chen Haitian frowned. At this time, the subordinate next to him asked worriedly, Director, do you think Iron Man can deal with the Mandarin? I don't know. Chen Haitian shook his head. The Mandarin's magic made him unsure whether Iron Man could deal with it. After all, one relies on magic, a supernatural thing, and the other relies on the power of technology. Although Tony's level of technology can also be called supernatural. However, there is still an essential difference between the two. Just as Chen Haitian finished speaking, suddenly, there was a rumble, and a light that was several times larger than any previous light rushed diagonally into the sky. Bang! With a loud bang, it penetrated a building diagonally and hit the sky directly. Originally, it was cloudy in Hong Kong today, and it looked like it was going to rain, but this light hit the sky and made a hole in the clouds. The sun shone through the hole. Seeing this scene, Chen Haitian and his group took a collective breath and were shocked. But then there was no more movement over there, as if the battle was over. Why is there no sound over there? Is the fight over? It should be. Who won? I don't know. The group discussed. Chen Haitian was also confused, not knowing who won. But at this moment, a red figure flew over there and quickly landed. It was Iron Man. Chen Haitian's heart moved, thinking that Iron Man had won. But just as he was about to speak, he saw the iron armor opened, and Tony walked out of it. He coughed a few times and his face was unusually ruddy. Then, he said with a worried look on his face, "The Mandarin has escaped. You guys hurry up and search for him. I feel that he will use the cosmic cube to do something very dangerous." After that, he returned to the iron armor and turned around and flew away. Chen Haitian was shocked when he heard this. Although he didn't know whether what Tony said was true or not, it was better to treat it as true at the moment. Immediately, he said to his subordinates, "Quick, notify others to search the whole city for the Mandarin. Even if you have to dig 3 feet into the ground, you must find him for me." Yes. The subordinates also heard what Iron Man said, so they all looked nervous and knew the seriousness of the matter. The subordinates took action. Chen Haitian followed. As he ran, he thought, "Damn it. If only Sun Wukong or that Tathagata Buddha were here. Tony can't do it, but the two of them can definitely do it. Maybe they can easily kill the Mandarin." Tony was flying in the sky. The armor was severely damaged after the battle with the Mandarin. Although it can still fight, in order to prevent any unexpected situation, it is better to change a new armor. And Tony has been uneasy, as if something big is going to happen. "Sir, your body is detected to be abnormal." But at this moment, Jarvis' voice sounded. "What's abnormal?" "The collision of particles in the reactor has caused the palladium element to be unstable and diffused. Now it is eroding your body along your blood. Please dismantle the reactor as soon as possible and receive treatment." Tony heard it and didn't speak. After upgrading the reactor before, it was installed on the body without testing. This is inherently unstable. But he didn't expect it to cause palladium poisoning. But at this time, how could he dismantle this reactor? This reactor is much stronger than the previous energy source. If he used the previous reactor to fight with the Mandarin, he might die at his hands. Tony remembered that the white light released by the Mandarin using the cosmic cube at the end, he narrowly avoided it. If he was hit, his armor would be damaged by more than 90%, and he would be finished. Meanwhile, in the area where Tony and the Mandarin fought, on a building, Loki held the Mind Staff in his hand, looked at the devastation on the ground below, and smiled. He had not appeared since he controlled the Mandarin, because he was afraid of being discovered by that Monkey King. The last time, the destroyers he sent out were all destroyed by Monkey King. Although he was angry and wanted to kill Monkey King, he was also full of fear of him. Therefore, he planned to stay hidden and not attract attention before the Chitauri came. While that slave is preparing the space channel, I will contact the civilization of this planet first. Loki smiled. After the Chitauri attacked this planet and took away the Infinity Stones, this planet belonged to him. Although he looked down on this planet, he still wanted to be the king of Asgard. But, it's better to have it than not, right? Loki smiled and immediately cast a spell, transforming his clothes into a black suit, and the Mind Staff in his hand also turned into an ordinary palm. At this moment, he was like a gentleman, but his expression and temperament were different from ordinary people's arrogance. A moment later, Loki walked in other areas. People in the area didn't know what happened at the port yet. Everything was as usual, and they didn't know what would happen next. Loki used the Mind Staff to collect information, but found that many people were talking about a person named Lin Feng. This person was a great scholar, and he also did some research on Sun Wukong. Loki was delighted. Such a person must be visited. Find out about Sun Wukong clearly, so that we can kill him. He went as soon as he said. Loki immediately collected the location of this Lin Feng. Then he found the Mandarin who was hiding and studying the space channel. and asked him to come to the cosmic cube and use the cosmic cube to go to Lin Feng's residence. Chapter 30 Professor Lin Feng's residence. Lin Feng was sitting at his desk, writing about Sun Wukong. He had already written about Sun Wukong's birth, his apprenticeship, and so on. Now he had already written about the plot of the Havoc in Heaven. And he also planned to temporarily write about the Havoc in Heaven and end it, before being pressed by Tathagata under the 5-element mountain. Of course, he didn't write too much detail, because there is a key problem. If it is written too detailed and comprehensive, it is easy to arouse suspicion. It is better to be detailed like this, but some places are vague and not perfect. Besides, isn't history like this? Erlang Shen was ordered to deal with Sun Wukong. Lin Feng was writing, and suddenly found that the next role he could play could be Erlang Shen. Erlang Shen is quite powerful, and when my lecture this time starts, it will tell the story of the battle between Erlang Shen and Sun Wukong, which will inevitably arouse a curiosity of the world about Erlang Shen. When I play Erlang Shen again, won't I be able to gain a lot of shock value? Thinking of this, Lin Feng became excited. But at this moment, someone came to visit. It turned out to be the principal Zhao Songgyang and Professor Fang Minimum. Professor Lin, we are here to see you. Zhao Songgyang greeted. Welcome, welcome. Lin Feng put down his pen, stood up and said with a smile. You sit down first, I'll go get 2 cups of tea. Don't bother, we just want to come and see, sit for a while and then leave. Haha, you have to drink a cup of tea after sitting for a while. Lin Feng went to make tea. Zhao Songgyang and Fang Minimum saw this and did not stop them. The two sat down. But suddenly, Fang Minimum saw a pen and a notebook on the desk, so she asked Lin Feng, who was making tea, Professor Lin, what are you writing? Oh, writing about Sun Wukong. Lin Feng said, Professor Fang didn't talk about it in detail at the lecture last time. So I plan to improve the information I know and then make it public so that everyone can know more about Sun Wukong. Hearing this, Zhao Songgyang and Fang Minimum were stunned, and then they immediately became happy. Especially Fang Minimum. He had too little information about Sun Wukong. There was only one incomplete copy, and it was worm-eaten. Therefore, there was not much information available. Therefore, he had always been curious about Sun Wukong, and wanted to know about him. Now Professor Lin knew about him, and planned to write it down and publish it. This is a good thing. Zhao Songgyang was also excited. He also wanted to know about this Sun Wukong. He couldn't wait to ask, Professor Lin, can we take a look? Sure. But I haven't finished it yet. Hearing the first part, Zhao Songgyang and Fang Minimum were excited, stood up and walked to the table. But when they heard the second half of the sentence, they stopped directly. It's not finished yet? Then, the two looked at each other and decided not to read it for the time being. Wait until Professor Lin finishes writing and gives a lecture, and then learn about Sun Wukong. Thinking of this, the two decided to take a look at the book. But before they had time to read the content, they were attracted by Lin Feng's handwriting. Professor Fang Minimum praised, Professor Lin, you are not only knowledgeable, but also have good handwriting. Yes, your handwriting is vigorous and powerful, and the font is integrated, with a kind of flowing beauty, and you wrote it with a gel pen. If you wrote it with a brush, you can frame it as an heirloom. Zhao Songgyang commented. He was not flattering, but telling the truth. As the president of Huaking University, he has a strong foundation in appraisal in this area, so his words show that Lin Feng's handwriting is really good. Thank you for the compliment. There is nothing else, just my hands are familiar with it. Lin Feng smiled. This is actually his feeling, after playing the role of Tathagata Buddha, so he wrote such words. Of course, if he wrote such words when he was playing the role of Tathagata Buddha, then the words will contain Buddha nature and Buddhist principles. At that time, I'm afraid that these two old guys will take a look and decide to shave their heads and become monks on the spot. Hearing this, Zhao Songgyang nodded and agreed with a smile. Yes, you can't write such a good hand without diligent practice and talent. Lin Feng smiled again. Then, the tea was brewed, and he came over with the tea. The three sat down and chatted for a while, and Zhao Songgyang and Fang Minimum said goodbye on the grounds of not disturbing Lin Feng's work. The scene changed. Loki has come to the capital with the power of the cosmic cube. and the work of setting up the space tunnel on the side of Mandarin is also proceeding in an orderly manner. Loki stood under a tree in a suit. At the same time, he used the Mind Scepter to collect information. People in this place are also talking about this Lin Feng. It seems that this Lin Feng is a real person. Loki raised the corner of his mouth, and he was more certain about the idea of visiting this Lin Feng. But at this time, he didn't notice that a husky came to his feet, sniffed, and raised his hind legs. A stream of yellow water shot out and poured on his trouser legs. Loki looked around, concentrating on collecting information, and didn't notice it at all. He didn't look down until he felt his legs were hot and wet, and there was an unpleasant smell. But he was immediately shocked. A lowly creature actually dared to pee on his legs. "Ah, you lowly creature, are you looking for death?" Loki said manically. The husky was so scared by the shout that he didn't even finish peeing and ran towards a young man who was running over. The young man was sweating, and it was obvious that he had just chased the husky. "Husky pig, why are you running so fast? Let me chase you." The young man scolded the husky. Then, he looked up at the man in front of him. He saw that the other person's trouser legs were wet, and there were water stains on his feet. In addition, the other person looked at him, as if he wanted to kill him. His heart skipped a beat. He swallowed, looked at the husky next to him, then looked at the water stains at the other's feet, and immediately realized something, and hurriedly pulled the husky forward, and apologized to Loki. "I'm sorry, sir. Did my dog pee on you? How much are your pants? I'll compensate you. I'm so sorry." The young man apologized quickly, then kicked the husky next to him, and cursed, "You beast, look at what you have done." The husky was kicked, and lay on the ground aggrieved. Loki's face was gloomy, and his eyes seemed to be spitting fire. He said in a deep voice, "You just apologize and compensate, and that's it? Do you know what kind of existence is standing in front of you? What existence?" The young man was a little scared when he saw Loki's appearance, and asked subconsciously, "I'm the Prince of Asgard, a high god." Loki scolded. Then, he pointed at the other person and cursed, "You lowly human, you actually let this even more lowly creature next to you pee on my legs. Do you know how expensive this dress I'm wearing is? This is a birthday gift made by my mother using the silk thread of the silkworm king on the Cheyenne star and the dyes of the cosmic rainbow, etc. It is extremely precious. Lowly human, you have angered a god." Loki had never encountered such a situation. This was undoubtedly an insult to him. Moreover, the clothes on his body were made by his mother. Then what do you want to do?" the young man asked in amazement. "When I become the master of this earth, I will skin and bone this lowly creature and let it suffer forever. As for you, I want you to be the lowest slave, working like a cow and a horse, working day and night." In the human information Loki collected, almost everyone hated work. So in his opinion, this was the most terrible punishment for the people on Earth. The young man swallowed his saliva when he heard this. He looked at Loki warily, then slowly crouched down, and without saying anything, he picked up the husky at his feet, and turned around and ran. Seeing this, Loki thought that the other party was scared. With a sneer, he wanted to use a mind staff to listen to the fear in the other party's heart. But he didn't expect to hear such a sentence. "Damn, I met a psychopath. Run quickly." Chapter 31. I was fooled. Loki was stunned. Then, he became furious. His expression was like a mad beast. He raised his scepter in anger and aimed at the figure of the young man carrying the dog, wanting to kill him. But the remaining reason jumped out and told him to stay calm. If he took action now, it would cause panic among the passers-by around, and then it might attract the attention of Sun Wukong. Now the space tunnel has not been completed, and the Chitauri has not arrived yet, so he has to hide and keep a low profile. Loki was so angry that his arm holding the scepter trembled. But in the end, he put down the scepter and did not kill the young man. "Forget it. After the Chitauri arrives, I will become the master of the earth and deal with you," Loki said with a gloomy face. He was still very angry in his heart, but now he had to focus on the overall situation. With the help of the cosmic cube, Loki came to Lin Feng's residence. Seeing the quiet and beautiful environment around him, he nodded secretly. Yes, such a beautiful place is only suitable for great scholars to live in. Although Loki is cunning, He loves to study, otherwise he would not be able to calm down and learn witchcraft with his mother. And there are great scholars in Asgard, and he has always been respectful to them. Guests outside, come in. At this time, a voice came from the house. Loki heard it, hesitated for a moment, and then stepped in. When he came to the house, he saw a young man sitting behind the desk. Loki had already learned about Lin Feng's appearance, so he recognized him when he saw Lin Feng at this moment. "Hello, Mr. Lin." Loki greeted first. Lin Feng looked at Loki, and he also recognized Loki. Lin Feng was a little surprised that Loki came to find him, but after thinking about it carefully, he felt that it was reasonable. Loki would appear on the earth now, which means that the Chitauri army brought by him will soon appear. And his last plan was destroyed by Sun Wukong. He would definitely want to know about Sun Wukong's situation and seek revenge on him. Therefore, it is not strange that he used this as an excuse to find me. After all, the whole network may know what I said in the lecture. "Hello, please sit down," Lin Feng said. As for the purpose of Loki's coming here, Lin Feng did not say that he wanted to directly play the role of Sun Wukong to kill him. Because, even if Loki knew the strength of Sun Wukong, what would happen? Loki sat down after hearing this, and then asked with a smile, "I heard that you know a lot about Sun Wukong?" Loki didn't say much nonsense, and went straight to the point. "I don't dare to be, I just know a little bit," Lin Feng said modestly. "Then can you tell me about this Sun Wukong?" "I'm still in the research stage," Lin Feng said. "After some time, when I finish my research, I will hold a lecture, and you can listen to it then." "Lecture? Is it free?" "Yes." "Okay." Loki smiled and thought, he is really a great scholar, with a broad mind, knowing that knowledge should not be blocked, but should be open, and impart knowledge to others for free. "Then according to your research, do you think this Sun Wukong is powerful?" Loki asked again. This is also the question he is most concerned about. "Of course." Lin Feng wanted to say of course he is powerful, but halfway through his words, he suddenly thought of something, and had a playful thought in his mind, so he changed his words and said, "Not powerful." "Not powerful?" Hearing this result, Loki was startled, and then he became curious and asked hurriedly, "How can he not be powerful? He destroyed 18 destructions, steel giants by himself." Loki originally wanted to say the destroyer, but suddenly remembered that humans on Earth call the destroyer the steel giant. If he said the destroyer directly, it might arouse suspicion, so he hurriedly changed his words. At this moment, the two of them did something that was almost the same, one after the other. "Haha." Lin Feng smiled and thought of an excuse in an instant, saying, "That's because the number of steel giants is too small. You must have watched the video at that time, right? Don't you find that Sun Wukong's attack mode is too simple? He can only swing and smash with an iron rod and has no other means of attack. And this method consumes too much physical strength, so as long as the number is large, Sun Wukong will definitely lose. So I say his strength is not that good." Hiss. Loki heard this, and his eyes showed clear, bright, and excited light. "Before, I thought this Sun Wukong was very powerful. Even if the Chitauri army came, it might take a lot of effort to kill him. But now it seems that it is completely useless." Loki realized and gained confidence. He stood up quickly, saluted to Lin Feng solemnly, and said gratefully, "Thank you Mr. Lin for clearing my doubts. I will definitely give you a generous gift in a few days." Loki has decided that when he becomes the master of the earth, he will give the great scholar in front of him an official position, erect a statue for him, build a school for him, and be admired by people. Suddenly, Loki thought of something and said, "There is one more thing. Please tell me, will there really be people like Sun Wukong who will wake up in the future?" Loki has collected a lot of information about Lin Feng. Among them, there is such a situation. "Well, what are their strengths?" Loki asked hurriedly. "Knowing the details, I think they should be about the same as Sun Wukong." "Okay, I've learned a lot. Thank you again for clearing my doubts." Loki's raised mouth corners are harder to suppress than AK-47. The ancient figures who awaken later are about the same strength as Sun Wukong, so there is nothing to worry about. Under the powerful Chitauri army, they are all ants. Loki said again, "Then I won't bother you, sir. I hope you can finish your research." We'll see you another day. See you another day. I hope you won't be surprised when you see me again. Okay, take care. Lin Feng said with a smile. Loki left. Lin Feng was sure that Loki had left, so he couldn't help but puffed and laughed. From Loki's reaction, he could see that Loki had been successfully fooled by him. What would his reaction be when he saw Sun Wukong killing the Chitauri army? It's funny to think about it, but the next scene will be a large-scale battle of Sun Wukong. The destruction of the destroyer was just an appetizer. After this battle, the world will see how powerful Sun Wukong is, and will definitely be more curious about him. Then I will hold a lecture and tell the detailed story of Sun Wukong, which will definitely gain a lot of shock value. Lin Feng said with a smile. He could already foresee the scene at that time. It will definitely be a place where thousands of people will be empty and the heat will be extremely high. And at the same time, as soon as President Zhao Songgyang and Professor Fang Minimum returned to Huaking University, they were approached by the Ministry of State Security. What do you want to do? Zhao Songgyang asked the two Ministry of State Security personnel in the office. One of the Ministry of State Security personnel smiled and said, President Zhao, we want to know about Lin Feng's situation. Lin Feng, Zhao Songgyang and Fang Minimum were stunned. What do you want to know about Lin Feng? Professor Fang Minimum asked. Chapter 30 To the two people's suspicion of Lin Feng. Zhao Songgyang and Fang Minimum were very curious. What did the Ministry of State Security come to Lin Feng to find out? Lin Feng is a historian, and the two have nothing to do with each other. Zhuang Fei smiled and said, it's like this. We investigated Professor Lin and found that he is a history enthusiast on weekdays. Apart from that, there is nothing special about him. Well, we have also investigated this situation and asked him personally. Zhao Songgyang nodded. But there is a question. Zhuang Fei said with a puzzled look on his face. Why does Professor Lin know about Sun Wukong? You have also investigated Sun Wukong's affairs, but you have very little information, right? But he has more information than you. Isn't it strange? Could it be that his channels for obtaining information are more powerful than you two? Zhuang Fei and his colleagues received an order from Qin Haitian to come to Huaking University to investigate Lin Feng. When Qin Haitian saw the video of Lin Feng at the lecture, he was surprised why this person knew all this. The appearance of Tathagata Buddha later surprised him even more, because this confirmed what Lin Feng said. So, he asked his subordinates to ask why Lin Feng knew all this. Hearing this, Zhao Songgyang and Fang Minimum frowned. Of course, it was not because of Lin Feng, but because of Zhuang Fei's words, as if he was saying that Professor Lin was a weirdo. They had come into contact with Professor Lin. How could such a person who had a deep understanding of things in ancient times, was diligent and studious, had good handwriting, and was gentle to others be a weirdo? Immediately, Zhao Songgyang and Fang Minimum were somewhat unwelcome to the two people from the Ministry of State Security. Both of them were intellectuals from that era. Stubborn. Even if it was their superiors, they dared to talk back. Fang Minimum's face fell and said, don't you know that the masters are among the people? Besides, have you forgotten how much technology the private enterprises brought to the country when the industrial base was surveyed before? Haha, Professor Fang, don't get excited first. Seeing that this historical figure had such a big reaction, Zhuang Fei hurriedly smiled. He didn't know what was wrong with the other party, and he didn't seem to say anything, right? He added, I know this. But don't you think Professor Lin is exaggerating? Exaggerated? Where is it exaggerated? At this time, Principal Zhao Songgyang, who had been silent, said in an unhappy tone, do you think that Professor Lin is also a figure from the ancient times of the earth, and has now awakened? No, we don't think so. Zhuang Fei was embarrassed and explained quickly. You can't say this casually. If it gets out, people will think that they are all people in the Ministry of State Security who actually think such an outrageous thing. Zhuang Fei looked at the drooping faces of Zhao Songgyang and Fang Minimum and still didn't know why these two suddenly got angry. But after looking at their reactions, he also understood that if he continued to ask like this, there would be no other results, and he might even be asked to leave by the other party. So he had to stand up and said, I'm sorry, Principal, Professor Fang, let's stop here for now. We have something else to do, so we'll leave first. No need to see you off, Zhao Sangayang said. He picked up the tea and took a sip. This is called serving tea to see off guests. Seeing this, Zhuang Fei smiled helplessly and walked out with his companions. Zhao Sangayang and Fang Minimum looked at each other, then they both shook their heads. They didn't know what was wrong with the people from the Ministry of State Security. They actually came to investigate Professor Lin. Let alone Professor Lin is a freak. Even if he is really a freak, what can he do? He can study things from ancient times and present the information to the world. This is an unprecedented event. No one should think of hindering this. Zhuang Fei and his companions left King University. Zhuang Fei took out his mobile phone while sitting in the car and called Chen Haitian. Hello. Director, I'm Zhuang Fei. I came to King University to inquire about Lin Feng's situation. Zhuang Fei told him the result just now. Chen Haitian frowned when he heard this. He didn't expect that Zhao Sangayang and Fang Minimum would defend Lin Feng so much. However, he thought about it carefully and seemed to understand. Lin Feng is currently studying things from that era, so it is normal for these two old men to defend him like this. He pondered for a moment and said, I understand. Don't investigate Lin Feng for now. Wait until I finish dealing with things here. Yes. After hanging up the phone, Chen Haitian thought for a while. At present, the matter in Xiangjiang City has not been resolved, so let's put Lin Feng's matter aside for now. I don't know where this Mandarin is hiding. Could it be that the guys are rat or cockroach and got into the sewer? Chen Haitian was puzzled. They searched for a long time, but there was no trace of Mandarin. This is really worrying. At the same time, in the United States, Nick was watching the battle video sent by Tony. At the end, the huge light emitted by Mandarin pierced through a building diagonally, then rushed straight into the sky and penetrated the dark clouds in the sky. He took a breath and showed shock on his face. This power is really terrible. No wonder Tony lost. Moreover, that Sun Wukong must not be able to resist it. Nick frowned and pondered. It seems that Tony's power alone is far from enough. We must form the Avengers as soon as possible. Nick thought to himself. This is the plan he has been thinking about recently, to form a team with extraordinary powers, to deal with the dangers that may occur in the future. Ding ling ling. Ding ling ling. But at this moment, a rapid ring sounded. Nick saw the call reminder and felt helpless, but he had to answer it. He pressed the button on the table. Suddenly, a virtual screen was projected. On the screen were many leaders of S.H.I.E.L.D. One of the leaders said bluntly, Nick Fury, what are you doing? Why did things turn out like this? Don't you know what to do when facing such a thing? The other party was talking about the Mandarin. According to the previous practice of S.H.I.E.L.D., if the Mandarin stole the dangerous cosmic cube, then S.H.I.E.L.D. would immediately dispatch troops and heavy firepower weapons, seal off the city and streets, and deal with the Mandarin. Sir, times have changed. Nick said, you have also seen the video I sent you, right? If we use the old methods to fight the Mandarin, it will inevitably cause large-scale urban destruction, and I don't know how many people will be killed or injured. Besides, you have also seen the situation in China. They have not deployed large-scale troops and heavy firepower weapons, which means they are also concerned about this. So we should change our tactics. The Avengers plan is the best solution at present. Nick had already reported the Avengers plan, but his superiors had been stuck, worried that the Avengers plan would not work. After hearing this, several leaders groaned. After a while, one of the leaders said, can't we train people ourselves? Nick shook his head. The Avengers need a group of outstanding talents who have mastered some special abilities, such as Tony Stark. So, we can't train them. After the words fell, there was another silence. After a while, the leader who had spoken before said, Nick Fury, there is no other way now. Just try your method. If you can catch the Mandarin and retrieve the cosmic cube, it means that your method works, and we agree to the Avengers plan. Hearing this, Nick's heart moved, and he quickly said, yes. Chapter 33 The space tunnel device has been built. Nick knew that this was a difficult request, but now was not the time to worry about it. The leader said, in order to complete the mission, you are allowed to use the aerospace carrier. Remember, the cosmic cube contains powerful power. You must take it back. It must not be completely controlled by the Mandarin, or fall into the hands of China. Yes, Nick said. The conceptual aircraft carrier of the aerospace carrier has long been manufactured by the United States, but it has never been displayed to the world. This time, if it were not for the importance of the cosmic cube, it would not be easily displayed. After the leaders finished their instructions, they went offline. Nick also turned off the video. He pondered. At present, only Tony has been confirmed as the candidate, but he has not yet fully expressed his intention to join the Avengers. However, this is not important for the time being. Now we have to find another person to help. Tony's power alone is not enough. Nick thought of a person who was dug out from the Antarctic Ocean some time ago. Nick came to the accommodation arranged for the other party, explained the current situation to the other party, and issued an invitation. Steve Rogers, we need your help now. Nick looked at the man in front of him, wearing a vest, with well-developed muscles but not bloated. It was obvious that he had great strength. He was Captain America. In the battle with Hydra, he crashed the out-of-control plane into the Antarctic Ocean. It was not until some time ago that he was discovered and excavated by S.H.I.E.L.D. But now, he seems to have a poor sense of integration into modern society. After all, so many years have passed, and things have changed. Rogers thought about it, shook his head and said, Mr. Fury, I'm sorry, I'm a person abandoned by the times. This era does not belong to me, so I refuse your invitation. Rogers tried to integrate into this era, but found that he was totally out of tune, so he had no intention of doing such superhero things. Nick's only remaining eye frowned and said, this world needs you to save it. Have you forgotten what happened in the past? Where is the man who rushed to catch the grenade for his comrades? Rogers was stunned and looked up at Nick. He was surprised. He didn't expect that Nick would know about this. This also rekindled a flame in his heart. Nick looked at Rogers' surprised reaction and continued, there are many lives waiting for you to save now. You feel that you have been abandoned by the times, but I think that this era also needs your help. Nick paused and said, if you think you are still a soldier, then follow me. I will leave for China now. After speaking, Nick turned and left. He didn't say anything more. He had said everything he should say. If Rogers still didn't catch up, it meant that he had seen the wrong person. Dap, dap, dap. The sound of Nick's leather shoes became farther and farther away. Rogers stood there, lowered his head slightly, clenched his fists, and fell into hesitation and struggle. The battle scenes of the past appeared in his mind. Finally, the fire in his heart turned into flames, and his clenched fists loosened. He made a decision. He picked up the backpack on the ground, and walked towards Nick. Nick was waiting outside. The moment Rogers came out with the bag, Agent Mariah beside him said in surprise, Director, he's out. Yeah. Nick nodded, and a smile appeared on his face. He didn't see the wrong person. Rogers came to Nick and said, Mr. Fury, I accept your invitation. Nick nodded and said, let's go. Time is running out. We are going to Zhangjiang City in China now. However, you'd better be mentally prepared. Maybe this trip will make you feel incredible. Rogers was puzzled and said, what do you mean? Rogers thought, I have met a weirdo like Red Skull. What else can make me feel incredible? You will know when you go there. Nick smiled. The scene changed. Zhangjiang. In a factory. There are various mechanical devices on the ground, and each device is connected by wires of varying thickness. The most exaggerated thing is that in the middle of the device, there is a huge device similar to a rocket thruster. But it is obviously not a rocket thruster. The lines of the devices with a very high-tech feel around are all connected to this huge device. In front of a row of controllers, Mandarin was operating excitedly, tapping the keyboard quickly with his fingers, debugging the space tunnel device. Almost done. It will be done soon. Mandarin talked to himself excitedly. As the leader of the 10 Commandments gang, he certainly not only has magical powers, but also has several very valuable doctoral degrees. It can be said that he is a very talented scientist. With the blessing of magic, he was able to build such a powerful empire underground, which of course did not come out of thin air. Soon, a hum sounded, and the space tunnel device similar to a rocket thruster lit up with white light. Debugging completed, no abnormalities found. Success. Mandarin stopped and looked at this scene, his face full of excitement. finally completed the master's task. Although we cannot say that we have fully mastered the principle of space tunnel, this device is enough to open a fixed space tunnel. Mandarin said excitedly. He did not fully master this technology. Therefore, what he made now can only be regarded as a castrated version of space tunnel, which can only open a space tunnel in a fixed place, and cannot open a space tunnel in any corner of the universe. Next, we have to wait for the master to come back. Mandarin said. Loki took the cosmic cube to find Lin Feng, and if you want to operate this device, you must rely on the power of the cosmic cube. There is no substitute. It's the same as a fuel car. You have to add gasoline to it before it can move. Just after Mandarin was busy, after a while, a blue light flashed, and Loki appeared. Loki saw the tool full of earth colors in front of him, and his face was surprised. The Mandarin walked over quickly and said respectfully, "Master, you are back." Yes. Loki came back to his senses, pointed at the tool, and asked the Mandarin, have you finished it? Yes, the device for opening the space tunnel has been built. As long as the master takes out the cosmic magic, the space tunnel can be opened, and the Chitauri can descend on Earth. Good. Not bad. Loki praised, very satisfied. I didn't expect that this toolman was so fast. He said again, when I become the master of the earth, I will definitely give you a job with 2 days off a week, and 6 insurances, and 1 housing fund. You will never work overtime. If you work overtime, you will get 3 times the salary. In the human information Loki collected, many people wanted to have 2 days off a week, and there were jobs with insurance and other requirements, so he thought this must be a good job. Thank you, master. The Mandarin looked a little strange, but he didn't dare to say anything more. After Loki made the promise, he looked at the device of the space tunnel again, and said excitedly, start the device now, open the space tunnel, and let the Chitauri come. Now? Mandarin asked. He felt that the master was a little anxious. He just came back, and couldn't wait to open the space tunnel. Didn't he take a break? Well, time waits for no one. Loki thought about what Lin Feng said, and said with a narrowed eye, next, there will be one after another ancient figures like Sun Wukong awakening, so we have to let the Chitauri come and seize the earth, as soon as possible, so that we can deal with them. Of course, you don't have to worry. I got the news that Sun Wukong is not really that powerful, including those who have awakened, they are all the same. Hearing this, Mandarin asked curiously, where did the master get this information? From a great scholar named Lin Feng. Loki smiled. Speaking of Lin Feng, his tone was full of respect. He is a true scholar who worked hard to research data and then selflessly contributed the knowledge he discovered. It's like a lighthouse in the dark night, guiding others. It's really great. Hearing Loki praising someone like this, Mandarin became curious about Lin Feng and wanted to get to know him. After all, they might work together in the future. But he didn't know that he would see Lin Feng soon. Okay, don't waste time, let's get started. Loki praised and urged again. Yes. At the same time, Chen Haitian was still looking for Mandarin's traces. Xiangjiang city is not small, and there is no clue of Mandarin's escape, so it is not an easy task to find him. Damn, where is he hiding? Chen Haitian was furious. Because he hadn't rested for a long time, his eyes were red. Moreover, a beard grew on his chin, and he didn't have the time and mood to take care of it. He looked a lot sloppier than before. Stark said he might use the cosmic cube to do something big. After so much time, he must have already done it. Chen Haitian was anxious and a little frightened. He always felt that something bad was going to happen. Boom boom boom. At this moment, there was a roar in the sky. Chen Haitian looked up and saw a red steel armor flying over at a high speed. Iron Man, why is he here again? Chen Haitian frowned. Of course, he was not unwelcome. The other party came here again, and he must be here to help. Bang! Iron Man landed in front of Chen Haitian, raising a wave of air and spreading around. Chen Haitian waved the dust. Tony looked at Chen Haitian in front of him and asked, Director Chen, have you found the Mandarin? Tony changed into a new set of steel armor and hurried over. Of course, the palladium element has been eroding his body, but at this critical moment, he couldn't care so much. No. Chen Haitian shook his head and said, I don't know where he is hiding. What did you say? Tony was shocked. Hearing this, his feeling of uneasiness became stronger and stronger. I saw that the Mandarin was going to do something with the cosmic cube before. Now that so much time has passed, maybe he has done it. Damn it. Then, Tony did not ask nonsense such as why didn't you find it, and quickly asked Jarvis for help. Jarvis, check the radiation of gamma rays. He was going to use the previous method to find the hiding place of the Mandarin. Okay sir, Jarvis said. Less than 3 minutes later, Jarvis' voice rang. Sir, the intensity of gamma ray radiation is increasing. This intensity is far greater than that emitted before, but it should also be released by the cosmic cube. Tony's face became solemn. Although he didn't know what the Mandarin was doing with the cosmic cube, it must be something bad. He immediately said, lock the radiation position. After that, he drove the steel armor to fly, and was about to rush over. But when Chen Haitian saw this scene, he hurriedly shouted, Mr. Stark, have you found the hiding place of the Mandarin? He heard the conversation between Tony and Jarvis. Found it. The Mandarin is doing something with the cosmic cube. I'm going to stop him now. Tony said in midair, then turned around and flew away. Chen Haitian was stunned for a moment. Then, he immediately reacted. The Mandarin is already using the cosmic cube. Immediately, he cursed damn it inwardly, and quickly took out the walkie-talkie and shouted, assemble. Emergency assembly. The Mandarin has been found. But just as he was calling, suddenly, there was a loud boom, and a bright blue light column in the distance rushed straight into the sky. For a moment, the wind and clouds rolled back, and the wind blew violently. The sky hit by the light column twisted and formed a vortex. In the center of the vortex, lightning as thick as a bowl swam, and made a deafening thunder. This scene was very strange, attracting the attention and curiosity of many passers-by on the ground below. Even the well-informed old man had never seen such a scene. Fuck, look at the sky. What's going on? It really is. What's going on? I don't know. Could it be what Lin Feng on the internet said, that another ancient figure has awakened? It's possible. Fuck, such a big scene. Are you sure it's not aliens? Don't believe in rumors or spread rumors. It could be some special scene. Just like a mirage or a rainbow. Get out of here. It's already like this, and you're still talking about mirages and rainbows? That's right. You can throw your brain away. This situation is definitely not natural. Discussions abounded. Whether it was people at work, school, or the elderly and children, they all saw this scene, but they didn't realize the danger. Only those with a strong sixth sense realized a little bit of danger, but they didn't know what was going on. Boom. Tony was speeding all the way, but suddenly stopped. His face changed drastically, and he saw a bright blue light column connecting the sky at the position locked in front of him. It looked extremely strange. Damn it. This must be something that Mandarin did. What on earth is he going to do? Tony couldn't figure it out, but he didn't think much about it. He continued to fly towards the direction of the light column. He wanted to stop the other party as soon as possible and shut down the light column. For some reason, as soon as the light column appeared, the uneasy feeling in his heart broke out completely. This also means that the light column itself is dangerous, or it will bring some danger. We must stop him. Tony turned on high power flight. Under this consumption, the palladium element was continuously radiated and eroded his body. Sir, you have been poisoned by palladium. Stop and receive treatment. At this time, Jarvis' voice sounded. There is no time. We can't stop. Tony refused anxiously. The blood vessels on his neck could already be faintly seen black. Chapter 34. The Chitauri army has arrived, and the earth is in danger. Looking at the azure light column in the distance, Chen Haitian was shocked. That must be what the Mandarin created using the cosmic cube. Stark's prediction was correct. But what did he want to do by creating this light column? Chen Haitian didn't understand. But he felt extremely uneasy, and always felt that the light column would cause big trouble. Whatever he wants to do, it will definitely not be a good thing. Chen Haitian looked anxious. Now we can only hope that Stark can rush over and stop the Mandarin's behavior in time. Now Chen Haitian and Tony still think that the light column was created by the Mandarin himself. They don't know that the Mandarin was controlled by Loki and did all this. Hong Kong Temple. Master Gu Yi, with many disciples, stood upstairs and looked at the scene in the distance. His face showed disbelief. How could it appear in Hong Kong? Shouldn't it appear in New York? Gu Yi was confused. He had seen such a situation in the time stone before. But it happened in New York. Why did it change to Hong Kong now? What is going on? Why is there such a change? Gu Yi felt uneasy. For the first time, he felt that everything seemed to be out of his control. But how could this be possible? He was the supreme mage on Earth, the patron saint of Earth. Ancient One's mind was a little unstable. This was a very troublesome thing for a supreme mage. An unstable mind would easily be eroded by darkness. But fortunately, he was a supreme mage who had lived for many years. He quickly stabilized his mind. Don't think about this for now. The Xiangjiang temple is in danger now, and we must protect the temple. Otherwise, if the temple is destroyed, the creatures in the dark dimension will invade the earth, and then it will be even more troublesome. Ancient One said secretly. Lin Feng's residence. Lin Feng raised his mouth and smiled. Finally, it's about to begin. And the plot he wrote about Sun Wukong's havoc in the Heavenly Palace officially entered the climax. Boom boom boom. The sky hit by the azurite column, the vortex turned faster and faster, and the lightning flashed continuously. Finally, a big hole similar to a black hole was formed. There was a breath of the universe, constantly escaping from the big hole. Ha 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 ha. On the building, Loki laughed up to the sky, feeling very excited. It's finally opened. Thor, and that Sun Wukong, you all wait for me. I want to let you know how powerful I am. Chitauri army, come down. Conquer this planet for me. Loki stretched out his hand arrogantly. A light green light flashed across him. His suit and trousers turned back into Asgardian clothes, and he also wore a golden crown similar to deer antlers. At this highlight moment, he must appear in the most solemn posture. On the other side of the big hole, in the universe, an extremely large space battleship was quietly floating. Next to it, there were many space battleships that were not as big as it, but not small. They seemed to be waiting for something. After the big hole appeared, the lights of the space battleships suddenly lit up, and then countless aliens drove their craft towards the big hole. They looked ugly and made strange noises. But it can be seen that they are extremely excited and enthusiastic at the moment. Boom boom boom. Tens of thousands of alien creatures drove their craft out of the big hole and flew towards the ground below. At the same time, there were mechanical long worms similar to long worms flying out of the big hole. They are huge, ferocious, terrifying, and have advanced technology. As soon as they appeared, they attacked the ground below without hesitation. The energy beam shot at the ground or the building, and a pit could be blown out in an instant. This shows how powerful this beam is. Boom. 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 In less than 30 seconds, a large number of Chitauri soldiers drove their craft, spread in all directions, and launched attacks. Gunpowder smoke rose, and the flames of war spread rapidly. On the ground, humans fled like ants. At this time, they finally knew what the beam of light was. Run. Run. Aliens are invading. Aliens are invading. Damn aliens. Come on. Your grandpa is not afraid of you. Help. Help. Someone come and save me. Damn aliens. Just wait. Sun Wukong will definitely appear and destroy you. Mom. Mom. Woo woo woo. For a while, shouting, cursing, crying, and explosions were everywhere. But many people firmly believed that Sun Wukong would definitely come, because the alien steel giant that appeared at that time was also Sun Wukong who appeared and destroyed them all. So, Sun Wukong will definitely come. People fled in panic, and the aliens drove flying vehicles to chase them in the sky while screaming and constantly firing beams to attack the fleeing humans below, as if they were having fun. But the most terrifying thing was the mechanical worms, and 7 or 8 of them had already descended. Not only can they fire beams to attack below, but their bodies are also weapons. They flew past the building, and the building was scratched by the hard body and collapsed to the ground. Boom 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 sounded, stirring up dust all over the sky. People could only flee frantically on the ground. This scene was like the crushing of civilization. In front of alien civilization, the human beings on Earth were like ants. In a short period of time, the Chitauri army sent countless soldiers, and their figures were everywhere in the sky. The city was gradually destroyed. Tony rushed to the place where the space tunnel was opened. Seeing the device in front of him clearly, Tony's pupils shrank, and he took a breath of cold air. Space device. Tony didn't know why the Mandarin used the cosmic cube to create a space channel to allow alien civilization to attack the Earth. But now he didn't think about it. He wanted to shut down this device to prevent more alien creatures from attacking the Earth. Boom. But at this moment, a voice came from behind. Jarvis immediately took control of the battlesuit and took Tony into the air. Bang! A green light hit the place where Tony had just stood. Tony's face sank. If he had been a step slower, he would have been hit by a sneak attack. And the person who sneaked below was the Mandarin. Mandarin, do you know what you are doing? Tony asked in a deep voice. I know. Mandarin said. Then you are really crazy, letting aliens attack the Earth. You should shut down this device. Tony couldn't understand Mandarin's idea. Impossible. Then there is no room for negotiation. Tony said no more and quickly dived over to fight with Mandarin again. Boom boom boom. At this moment, the Air Force stationed in Zhangjiang City flew over in fighter jets. The army had not arrived so quickly. The army's reaction and response speed can be said to be fast, but no matter how fast it is, it can't be faster than the destruction. When the pilots and soldiers came over Zhangjiang, they were stunned by the situation on the ground. Smoke and dust rolled. It was simply a doomsday scene. They quickly joined the battle, and a total of 7 fighter jets attacked the aliens flying in the air, hitting the aliens like rain, swishing down. But there were too many aliens, and they didn't seem to have the emotion of fear. Even when facing fighter planes, they rushed forward one after another. The 7 fighter planes were killed one after another before they could hold out for a while. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 35. The battle was fierce. Seeing this, Chen Haitian was shocked. Then, he gnashed his teeth again. Don't these aliens have any sense of fear? They are attacking the fighter planes one after another without even avoiding them. Moreover, the giant mechanical worms have not attacked the fighter planes. If they attack the fighter planes will basically have no ability to fight back. Chen Haitian was very anxious. This was a crushing of civilization, and their civilization level was not enough to resist. Chen Haitian looked in the direction of the black hole again. He saw that the black hole was still continuously flying out of aliens, flying in all directions. Why hasn't Tony turned off that thing yet? Is he in trouble? Chen Haitian thought about it and felt that it must be the case. The Mandarin must be guarding that device, and Tony would run into him if he went over. And he didn't seem to have beaten the Mandarin before. Damn it. Chen Haitian was extremely anxious. However, he had no choice. In this situation, he couldn't even go over there, so he couldn't help at all. You bunch of alien beasts, wait for Sun Wukong or that Tathagata Buddha to come and let you know how powerful we are. Chen Haitian said secretly. Ding ling ling ding ling ling. But at this moment, a rapid phone ring sounded, as if foreshadowing something. Chen Haitian took out his mobile phone and answered it. Hello, this is Chen Haitian. Director, a hammer just flew over and flew directly into Thor's hand, and then he transformed. The surprised voice of his subordinates came from the phone. Hammer? Transformed? Chen Haitian was stunned when he heard this. What is going on? Yeah, he just suddenly changed his clothes, and he is quite handsome, and his hairstyle has also changed. Chen Haitian. Suddenly, Chen Haitian thought of what Thor said during the interrogation. He is the prince of Asgard, and because he made a mistake, he was expelled to the earth by the god King Odin, and then his hammer also came to the earth. He wants to find the hammer and restore his divine power. Chen Haitian seems to understand something, but now is not the time to think about these things. Since Thor is the son of the god Odin, he must have divine power. Let's ask him to come and help. With this in mind, Chen Haitian immediately said, let Thor come to Zhangjiang City to help. Zhangjiang? The subordinate asked curiously. Director, what's the situation in Zhangjiang now? Why do I feel that there are so many noises over there? It's hard to explain. Chen Haitian urged, don't ask so many questions. Hurry up and arrange a plane to bring Thor here. Yes. The subordinate heard this and knew that the situation was urgent, so he didn't ask any more questions. But the next second, he spoke again. However, this time he seemed to be surprised, and his tone was a little trembling. Director, there is no need to arrange a plane. Thor asked me which direction Zhangjiang City was, and then he turned the hammer several times, threw it hard, and flew away with the hammer like a parabola. Chen Haitian was stunned. He didn't expect Thor to do this, but he didn't think much about it and said, okay, I know. After that, he hung up the phone. Chen Haitian thought, Thor is on his way now. It is always a good thing to have one more extraordinary person to help. However, I don't know how strong Thor is. How is he compared to Sun Wukong and Tathagata Buddha? Chen Haitian thought. However, before he had time to think about it, a noisy voice came from outside. Open the door quickly. Let us in. Help. Open the door quickly. Hurry up. The aliens are behind. Please. Aren't you from the government? Open the door quickly and let us in. Hearing the voice, Chen Haitian turned his head and saw a large group of citizens coming outside the iron gate. There were old and young, and some even brought children. They were panicked, and some even cried and wanted to come in for refuge. Chen Haitian didn't even think about it, and hurriedly shouted, what are you doing? Open the door quickly. Let them in. Hearing the order, the guard hurriedly opened the iron gate. Citizens rushed in, as if there was a flood and beast behind them. But in fact, it was indeed the case. Chen Haitian looked up and saw a large number of aliens flying in front of him. Damn it. Chen Haitian shouted hurriedly, everyone, fight the aliens and protect the citizens. Yes. Chen Haitian led the Chinese soldiers to fight the aliens. However, their weapons were not good. Bullets hit aliens and aircraft and had no effect at all. Even a rocket launcher could only kill one alien at most. Moreover, the rocket launcher was slow to reload, unlike the alien aircraft, which could quickly fire beams. So as soon as they fought, Chen Haitian and others fell into a disadvantage. At the same time, over the Pacific Ocean, a huge object similar to an aircraft carrier was flying. It was the aerospace aircraft carrier developed by the United States. Captain Steve Rogers stood in front of the railing and looked into the distance. He looked a little sad, and I didn't know what he was thinking. For him, after sleeping for decades, he woke up again, and only places like the army could make him feel familiar. However, the heavy-duty carrier flying in the sky now made him feel familiar, shocked and strange. At this time, Nick came over with a tablet and said, we have at most 20 minutes to reach Zhangjiang City in China. After that, he handed over a high-tech electronic panel and said, take a look. This is the current situation in Zhangjiang City. Captain America took the electronic panel. Looking at the messy city on the screen and the aliens flying in the sky and constantly attacking the ground, Captain America's pupils shrank, and he took a breath of cold air. Is this an alien? Captain America felt incredible and shocked. Yeah. Nick nodded. He was also surprised when he learned about this situation. Unexpectedly, the purpose of the Mandarin stealing the cosmic cube was to let aliens attack the Earth. Damn it. Nick had dealt with alien creatures in his early years, so he was not surprised to see alien creatures. Captain America frowned, pondered for a moment, and said, can this aerospace carrier be faster? We must rescue them as soon as possible. They need our help. Nick nodded in agreement. However, he added, the higher-ups asked us to join the battlefield depending on the situation. If there is anything wrong, we must evacuate as soon as possible. After all, the matter concerns our country's security, and this matter must be considered clearly. And even if we want to help, we have to wait for China to ask us for help. We must have some benefits. Captain America frowned, but didn't say much. Although he disliked these things, he also knew rationally that what Nick Fury said was not wrong. The aerospace carrier was flying in the sky, approaching Zhangjiang City. It was even possible to see the wormhole that was getting bigger and bigger. A steady stream of aliens flew out of the wormhole, like locusts, devouring the fields. Bang! Tony was hit by a green beam and flew backwards, breaking a street lamp. At this time, Tony felt pain all over his body, weak, and panicked. He struggled to stand up. However, Jarvis' voice rang out at this time. Sir, your palladium poisoning is getting worse. Please stop fighting immediately and get treatment. Otherwise, your life may be in danger if you continue like this. But Tony stood up, as if he didn't hear it. At this time, the Mandarin walked over with a smile on his face and crossed his hands. There were 10 rings on his 10 fingers. Chapter 36, Beating the Hole. Stark, you are not in the right condition. The Mandarin laughed. After the battle, he realized that Tony was not in the right condition. However, it had nothing to do with him. He looked at the sky in the distance again and said, do you see the current situation? At this rate, the alien army will occupy the entire Earth within 2 days. By then, I will be the biggest contributor. And you will not see that time. The Mandarin grinned. He gathered energy in his hand and was about to attack Tony. He wanted to kill Tony here. Tony was pale and very weak. Seeing this scene, his face changed and he wanted to dodge, but his body was powerless. Damn it, Tony said angrily. But at this moment, a figure flew over at a high speed and with a bang, it hit the Mandarin, stirring up a green magic shield. The Mandarin flew backwards. Tony looked at this sudden scene in disbelief. I saw that the person who came was a man wearing a red cloak and armor. He was Thor. Buddha Tathagata helped him to unlock the imprisonment, and he recovered his divine power and successfully summoned Mjolnir. After Thor knocked Mandarin away, he turned to look at Tony. He didn't know Tony, but he helped him after seeing him. But now is not the time to think about these things. He came to Xiangjiang City to help at the request of Chen Haitian. Hey, do you know how to turn off that thing? Thor pointed at the azurite column. Tony looked in the direction he pointed, knew what he meant, and said, I can try it. Okay. Thor said, you go and turn off that thing. Don't let too many aliens enter the Earth. I will deal with this person. After that, he rushed towards Mandarin in a hurry. Tony looked at him. He didn't know the other party, but from the current situation, the other party should not be an enemy. Immediately, Tony didn't think much about it. While the other party was holding Mandarin, he had to quickly turn off the space tunnel device. He gritted his teeth, forced his body to be corroded by palladium, and controlled the iron suit to fly up and fly towards the space tunnel device. When he landed in front of the space tunnel device, Tony lost his balance and fell to the ground. At this time, Jarvis' voice sounded again. Sir, your body has been severely corroded by palladium. Please leave the battlefield immediately and receive treatment. But Tony supported himself with his hands and stood up, forcing a smile. Jarvis, if I leave here now, who will close this space tunnel device? When more and more aliens attack the Earth, how long can the Earth last? The artificial intelligence Jarvis was silent. Tony said no more. He looked at the console and operated on the keyboard with both hands, trying to close the space tunnel device. Bang! Thor smashed the Mandarin with a hammer. Lightning flashed, and even though the Mandarin had a magic shield, he was also injured by Thor's powerful force. He ran out of blood and flew backwards, crashing into the ruins. Thor faced the Mandarin and crushed him directly. No matter how powerful the Mandarin's magic is, it is not stronger than Thor's power. He is the son of Odin. Bang! The Mandarin used magic to shake away the surrounding stones. At this time, he was in a very embarrassed state, panting. His clothes were tattered, even his hair was turned into curls by lightning, and there was blood at the corners of his mouth. He roared and said angrily, you are looking for death. The alien army is attacking the Earth. If you dare to attack me, you will definitely not live beyond tomorrow. The Mandarin didn't know who the other party was, but he knew that the other party was dead. Thor frowned, swung his hammer, and was about to rush forward. But at this moment, he saw an alien flying in a flying vehicle in front of him, and behind it, there was an acquaintance sitting. Loki. Thor's pupils shrank, and his heart jumped. He was very surprised to see Loki on Earth. Why is Loki on Earth? But suddenly, Thor thought of a possibility. Could it be that Loki did all this? Thinking of this, he suddenly felt incredible. Where did Loki get such a huge army? But the next moment, he remembered something. His face changed immediately, and he was terrified. He quickly scolded Loki. Loki, what are you doing? Are you crazy? Loki heard someone calling him, looked down, and saw Thor on the ground. And how did he recover his power? Loki was stunned for a moment. Then, he raised the corner of his mouth and didn't think about it anymore. What can he do if he recovers his power? Can he deal with the Chitauri army? Thinking of this, Loki asked the Chitauri soldier to fly over in a flying vehicle and then landed above Thor. Loki sat on the flying vehicle and looked down at Thor. He was dressed in luxurious clothes and a golden crown, which made him look like a king. He said, "Thor, it's been a long time. Loki, did you do all this? What do you want to do? What do you want to do?" Loki smiled and said, "Of course I want to be the master of the earth. Oh, and I want to kill you, and that monkey king. You are crazy." Thor heard this, and hurriedly persuaded him, "Stop it now, and come back to Asgard with me to accept punishment, otherwise you will regret it." Regret? Why should I regret it? The earth is not as simple as you think. If you want to be the master of the earth, you will inevitably anger those people. They are not you, nor these alien legions can resist them. Thor was referring to Monkey King and Tathagata Buddha. Once they take action, these alien legions and Loki will be useless. Ha ha ha. But Loki laughed, as if he heard a joke. "Thor, this is not like you. How come you became timid after Odin imprisoned your power and banished you to this planet?" Ha ha ha. "I have already inquired about the strength of Sun Wukong and the others. They are not that strong. As long as they dare to show up, my Chitauri army can destroy them." Loki. Thor heard the other party calling his father's name directly and shouted, "Watch your words. He is your father. He is not my father." But Loki's face suddenly changed, and he became furious. When this sentence came out, even Thor was stunned. He did not expect Loki's reaction to be so big. Seeing Thor stunned, Loki also realized that he had lost his composure. He snorted coldly and returned to his previous smug look, saying, "Thor, I will soon become the master of this planet. No one can stop me, not to mention you. If that Sun Wukong dares to show up, I will definitely kill him. However, even if he is afraid and hides and dares not show up, I will find him and kill him." After that, he didn't want to talk nonsense with Thor anymore. He asked the alien soldiers to drive the aircraft away. "Loki, Loki." Seeing Loki flying away, Thor was anxious and shouted hurriedly. He wanted to stop Loki and take him away and return to Asgard before he provokes those people. But Loki didn't want to talk to him at all. Chapter 37. Tony is in danger. Damn it, where did Loki hear this news? Thor was extremely anxious. They actually said that Sun Wukong and Tathagata Buddha were not powerful. Isn't this nonsense? How could they not be powerful? Question mark? He swung his hammer and was about to chase Loki, stop his stupid behavior, and bring him back to Asgard. Bang. But suddenly, at this moment, a green light shot over and hit his back directly, knocking him out. Bang. It hit a car parked on the side of the road and directly knocked it horizontally 2 or 3 meters. Thor's back hurt, but he was not seriously injured. He is the son of Odin, and now he has regained his divine power. His physical strength is naturally strong. This level of attack is not enough to hurt him. Thor stood up from the ground and looked at the Mandarin who attacked him. He looked unhappy. "It seems that we have to kill him first." Thor no longer hesitated and rushed towards the Mandarin quickly. When Mandarin saw Thor rushing over, he shouted and fought without thinking too much. He just heard Thor and Loki talking and was surprised at first. From the content of the conversation, Thor and Loki seemed to be brothers, but it seemed that Loki wanted to kill Thor as a slave. How could he not realize the master's idea? Bang. But as soon as they fought, Thor smashed with a hammer, stirring up a green shield. Mandarin was shocked and spit out blood again, flew backwards and crashed into a store. But in an instant, he rushed out again. Thor did not show mercy and continued to fight. Tone aside. Boom boom boom. The space tunnel device kept making a roar, and there was no sign of closing. Tony kept operating on the control keyboard, but it was useless. He couldn't find the shutdown program, as if this was a one-sided device and there was no shutdown program at all. And in fact, it was indeed the case. Because, in order to save time, Mandarin made a castrated version. Besides, he didn't think about shutting down this device. Tony had tried other methods. For example, he fired energy beams at the cosmic cube that provided space energy. But it was useless. The energy beam hit the cosmic cube and was directly rebounded and hit himself. The crackling sound of the keyboard was still ringing. Tony was still trying, but it was still useless. Finally, Tony clenched his fists and smashed the console. Bang! He finally gave up. Damn it, Tony said angrily. At this time, his palladium poisoning was getting worse and worse, and he could clearly see black under his neck. Moreover, he felt weak and dizzy. Now that he was emotionally excited, he couldn't even stand up. He stepped back and fell to the ground. At this time, Thor flew over. He solved the Mandarin. Thor fell to the ground and saw Tony sitting on the ground, and his heart skipped a beat. He had expected the result, but he still asked unwillingly, "Can't this beam of light be turned off?" Tony shook his head. Thor's face changed. Immediately, he turned his head to look at the space tunnel device. After hesitating for a moment, he gritted his teeth and rushed forward, raised his hammer and smashed it at the cosmic cube. With a loud bang, a blue recoil force mixed with lightning hit him and directly knocked him out. Bang! Thor fell to the ground. He felt a pain in his chest, as if he was hit by a giant's fist. Damn it! He stood up and was about to think of another way. But suddenly, he was targeted by aliens, and a large number of aliens attacked him. His pupils shrank, but there was nothing he could do, so he had to fight. Bang! 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 There were explosions everywhere, and the situation was worse than before. Chen Haitian led everyone to fight against the Chitauri soldiers. But due to the difference in weapons and numbers, they were completely at a disadvantage. "Director, we can't hold on any longer," the subordinate shouted anxiously. "You have to hold on even if you can't." Chen Haitian shouted as he fired. "The army of Xiangjiang City has been dispatched, and Stark has also gone to shut down the beam of light. As long as he shuts it down and cuts off the transportation of the alien army, it will be much better." Chen Haitian's words were completely useless encouragement. As far as the current situation is concerned, even if the beam of light is shut down, countless alien soldiers have already descended on Earth, which is also a big trouble. Others also know this. But at this time, it is not easy to say anything. But at this moment, a red figure flew over from the direction where there were no alien soldiers. With a bang, it fell directly to the ground, as if it had not braked, and slid for several meters. Seeing this, Chen Haitian's heart jumped. "Stark, what's going on?" He didn't have time to think about it, and hurried forward, struggling to turn Tony over, and asked, "Stark, what's wrong with you?" "Nothing." Tony's weak voice came out. Then he said, "Jarvis, open the mecha." "Yes." With a burst of mechanical operation, the battle suit opened. Tony appeared in front of Chen Haitian. But when Chen Haitian saw Tony's condition, his pupils shrank immediately, and he was shocked. What happened to you?" Tony's face was pale, his eye sockets were dark, and he looked extremely weak. The strangest thing was that the blood vessels in his neck were all black. Tony did not answer Chen Haitian's question, but talked about the space tunnel device. "I can't turn off that device, and I can't help you." "What?" Hearing this, Chen Haitian's face changed. If it can't be turned off, it means that there will be a steady stream of alien armies attacking the Earth. Chen Haitian couldn't accept this. He wanted to say, "Aren't you a super genius? How can you not turn it off?" But looking at Tony's appearance at this time, he swallowed the words back. Tony became like this. He must have tried his best. After Tony said this, he closed his eyes, tilted his head, and fainted. Chen Haitian was startled and hurriedly called for help. "Quick, come and help. Carry him to a safe place." Boom. 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 Loki sat on the aircraft, like a king, inspecting the battlefield. However, the situation was like this, but he was thinking in his heart, "Thor, you have no way to fight me. When I become the master of this planet, my next plan is to fight back to Asgard. And father, you watch. After fighting back to Asgard, I will wage war on Jotunheim, and I will completely destroy Jotunheim." Loki's mouth corners raised. At this time, he suddenly discovered that there was a place where the Earth humans were struggling to resist. Moreover, he saw an acquaintance. "It's him." Loki saw Chen Haitian. Before, he sent 18 destroyers to the Earth to kill Thor. Chen Haitian led the soldiers to attack the destroyers. And he saw Chen Haitian through the vision of the destroyers. He should be an official of China. Loki smiled. He had an idea in his mind. Immediately, he ordered the Zatamini soldiers to fly over in aircraft. Chapter 38. The shadow of Tathagata Buddha appears. Boom. 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 Chen Haitian had just come out after settling Tony down. Tony's physical condition was very bad, and he had to receive treatment as soon as possible, otherwise he would die. But in the current situation, not to mention that he couldn't be sent to the hospital, it would be useless, even if he was sent to the hospital. In the current situation, everywhere is being attacked by aliens. Damn it. Chen Haitian gritted his teeth. Director, we are running out of ammunition. At this time, the shouts of his subordinates came. Chen Haitian looked over and immediately saw a scene that he would never forget in his life. With a bang, I saw a beam of light hit the side of the soldier, and the powerful impact directly knocked several soldiers around him away. One of the soldiers fell in front of Chen Haitian with a plop. His face and back were burned black, and his eyes were still open, and he died with his eyes open. Chen Haitian was stunned for a moment, and then, a heart-wrenching sadness surged in his heart. He was furious, and screamed out of control. He picked up his assault rifle, and fired at the Chitauri soldiers in the sky to vent his anger. Come on. You alien beasts. Come on. But it was of little use. The power of the bullets could not cause any harm to these Chitauri soldiers. At this time, Loki flew over. He saw the situation below, and showed contempt on his face. He raised his hand, and blocked all the bullets. He asked the Chitauri soldiers around to stop attacking, and not to hinder him from pretending. Then, he said to Chen Haitian, you really know how to make useless resistance. Can this kind of weapon defeat the Chitauri army? Loki mocked him. If this kind of weapon can also defeat the Chitauri army, then the Chitauri army will not be able to occupy planets everywhere in the universe and snatch the Infinity Stones. Chen Haitian heard this, and his angry mind calmed down a little. He stared at Loki, and asked in a deep voice, who are you? He didn't know Loki, nor did he know that this alien invasion was actually caused by Loki. Me. Loki smiled, stood up, opened his hands and said, I will soon be the master of this planet. After that, he lowered his head, and pointed at Chen Haitian with the scepter in his hand and said, and you will all be my slaves. Put down your weapons and surrender to me. Otherwise, you will die, and not even be slaves. You are dreaming. Chen Haitian scolded. He now understood that the person in front of him was the leader of all these events. The Mandarin was just a subordinate. You are looking for death. After that, Loki frowned and glared, extremely displeased. A weak and humble creature dared to contradict and refute his words. He immediately used the scepter to shoot a beam of light attack, and with a bang, it shot towards Chen Haitian. Chen Haitian's pupils shrank, and his face changed drastically. As an ordinary human, he couldn't avoid such an attack. Director. The surviving soldiers were shocked and shouted to Chen Haitian. They wanted to go forward, but it was too late. Bang. An invisible impact force spread in all directions. The soldiers who wanted to rush up were all blown away, and fell to the ground. A cloud of blue smoke filled the air around Chen Haitian. Seeing this scene, Loki sneered, you don't know how to live or die, and you dare to talk back to the gods. He thought Chen Haitian was dead. After all, it was impossible for humans on Earth to survive such an attack. He looked at the rest of the people and said coldly, see, this is the end of not submitting to me. Do you want to die or live? Hearing this, the remaining soldiers all came back to their senses from their grief. They stared at Loki with a firm look, ignoring life and death. The meaning is self-evident. Seeing this reaction, Loki laughed in anger. Okay, since you want to die, I'll grant you your wish. After saying that, he was about to order the Chitauri soldiers to continue attacking. But suddenly, at this moment, waves of Sanskrit sound rang out from the sky and earth, as if countless people were chanting something ethereal and mysterious. Loki was stunned. What is this sound? Then, he seemed to see something, and his face suddenly changed. Chen Haitian, who was shrouded in blue smoke, suddenly emitted golden light, and dispersed the blue smoke, revealing the situation inside. Chen Haitian was not hurt at all, and a golden light shield protected him. This golden light shield, with golden light flowing, looks holy and mysterious. Compared with the green shield of the Mandarin, it is the difference between a luxury car and a tractor. What is it? Loki came back to his senses. frowned, and showed confusion in his eyes. He did not expect this scene to happen. And the living soldiers around were also stunned. What is this? Could it be that the director is also a transcendent? Chen Haitian is in the center of the light shield. What is this? To be honest, he was also confused and couldn't believe the strange situation in front of him. Just now, Loki attacked him, and suddenly it became like this, and he didn't react. At this time, he saw something floating above. Suddenly, his heart was shocked, and his eyes showed a look of sudden realization. I remember that the Tathagata Buddha said before that the earth would face a crisis in the near future, and then he gave me a scripture saying that it would bless the peace of one side. This is the scripture. Chen Haitian looked at the scripture excitedly. Since he came to Xiangjiang City, he has been busy deploying the plan to capture Mandarin, and now there is an alien civilization invasion, so he forgot about it. If it weren't for Loki's move, the scripture flew out automatically to bless. He couldn't even remember that he was carrying the scripture given by the Tathagata Buddha. It's stable now, Chen Haitian said excitedly. Unlike Chen Haitian's reaction, Loki didn't know what this golden light shield was. But at this moment, the scripture suddenly burned. Chen Haitian's eyes widened, his heart skipped a beat, and his excitement came to an abrupt end. No way. Is this scripture about to end? But the next second, a character emerged from the burning scripture, and it became bigger and bigger. In a few breaths, it covered the entire sky of Xiangjiang City. A huge golden transparent light shield, after the character covered the sky, covered Xiangjiang City like a golden bowl. The Chitauri soldiers did not react and wanted to invade the city, but they crashed into the transparent light shield, which directly caused the plane to be destroyed and people to die, and explosions were heard everywhere. At the same time, a huge Buddha phantom appeared. His body was extremely huge, guarding in front of the golden light shield. There were bursts of Sanskrit sounds between heaven and earth, and above the Buddha's phantom, there appeared scenes similar to mirages. In that scene, it seemed to be the land of ancient times. Countless ancient ancestors knelt on the ground devoutly, and then bursts of incense smoke floated from them and gathered in the sky. But it seems that there are other scenes that have not been shown. But even so, this scene is still shocking. Chapter 39. Everyone is shocked. The shadow of the Buddha clasped his hands together with a compassionate look. It was exactly the same as the Buddha played by Lin Feng before. Amitabha. Then, the shadow of the Buddha chanted a Buddhist name. The grand and solemn voice spread in all directions. At this moment, it seemed that there was only this voice left in the world. The people who were fleeing stopped and stared at the shadow of the Buddha in amazement. Some even had tears on their faces, frozen in tears. After a long while, they came back to their senses. Oh my god, what is that? So shocking. Yes. This image looks like a monk. Could it be that, like Sun Wukong, he is also a figure from our ancient times? Such a magical scene. It must be. Hiss. That's too shocking. Is he here to save us? Yes. Since he has appeared, he must be here to save us. Great. Great. But why didn't Sun Wukong show up? I think he must have been busy with something. There was a lot of discussion. When Guyi saw the phantom of Tathagata Buddha, he was also stunned. He couldn't believe his eyes that he could see such a situation. Guyi was the supreme master, who was knowledgeable. But even he had such a reaction, which was enough to show how incredible the situation of the phantom of Tathagata Buddha was at this moment. However, this is not a real person. It should be a phantom presented by some advanced ability. But he should also be a figure from ancient times like Sun Wukong, and now he has awakened. Guyi said. He saw it, but he didn't know how to call this ability to present phantoms. He could feel that this was not magic, but an inexplicable, ancient and vicissitudes of life ability. This ability was incredible. It was so powerful that it made her mind a little unstable. And he also felt that the mirage-like scene above the phantom should have happened in ancient times, and there were many things about this scene that had not been presented. This was his intuition as the supreme mage of the earth. That Lin Feng is right. The characters of the ancient times will wake up one after another. Before, it was Sun Wukong, and now it's this person. Guyi's eyes were deep. He could sense that the real body of this phantom was an extremely powerful existence and a neutral and peaceful person. This was a good thing. but the appearance of Sun Wukong has already made my prediction of what will happen on Earth in the future deviate, and now there is another one. Gu Yi secretly realized that he might not be able to use the time stone to predict the future of the Earth in the future. Bang! Thor smashed an alien with a hammer. Then, he fell to the ground, looked up at the shadow in the distance, and showed shock and excitement on his face. It's him. He appeared. Thor recognized the Buddha. Lin Feng played the role of the Buddha to help him release Odin's imprisonment, and the strength he showed made him unforgettable. At the same time, he also thanked the Buddha. If it weren't for the Buddha to help him release the imprisonment and restore his divine power, he didn't know what to do. But suddenly, he thought of something, and his face changed. Loki. He looked around fiercely, trying to find Loki's figure, but he couldn't find it at all. Moreover, at this time, a large number of Chitauri soldiers rushed towards him, and even a giant mechanical worm flew towards him. The golden light shield only blocked the Chitauri army outside from attacking the city, but there were already many Chitauri soldiers in the city. Damn it. Thor cursed and had to swing his hammer to fight. Hiss. On the aerospace carrier, Captain America and Nick took a breath at the same time, their eyes full of disbelief. In the distance ahead, in Xiangjiang City, there was a huge shadow sitting cross-legged. The representative buildings of Xiangjiang City next to it were not as tall as it, and there was a mirage-like situation above the shadow. Behind the shadow, there was a golden transparent light shield covering the entire Xiangjiang City. The aliens outside wanted to get in, but they couldn't do it at all. When they touched the golden transparent light shield, they exploded directly, the plane was destroyed, and the people died. What on earth is this? Has China developed such a high-tech thing? Captain America couldn't believe it, and shook his head. He was secretly proud of having developed an aerospace carrier for the United States before. But China has developed such technology, what else can he be proud of? But when Nick heard this, he turned his head and looked at Captain America in surprise. Suddenly, he thought that Captain America didn't pay attention to the situation online, so he didn't know the current situation in China. Seeing such a situation, it was normal for him to think so. Thinking of this, he explained, "This is not the technology developed by China. Well, to be precise, this is not the power of technology." What? Not the power of technology? Captain America was stunned and asked what was going on. Nick told Captain America about the appearance of Sun Wukong in China, and then about what Lin Feng said in the lecture. Captain America was stunned on the spot after listening, and his heart was in turmoil. Seeing Captain America's reaction, Nick said again, "Now you know why I asked you to be mentally prepared before I set off." Captain America was still shocked. He thought for a while and said, "Mr. Fury, am I dreaming? Am I still in the glacier and not dug out by you?" He looked up at Nick. Captain America would rather suspect that he was still in the glacier and not dug out than believe such an outrageous thing. Originally, he thought that the Red Skull was outrageous enough. Unexpectedly, there are even more outrageous than him, and it is 100 times or 1,000 times more outrageous. Nick ignored him and let him digest it slowly. Nick turned his head and looked at Xiangjiang City again. Looking at the shadow of the huge statue, he thought to himself, this person should be like Sun Wukong, a figure from ancient times who has awakened. But can he destroy these aliens? It seems a bit suspenseful. He has been silent all the time, as if he is just protecting Xiangjiang City. But it's useless to go on like this. How long can this light shield last? What about Sun Wukong? Lin Feng sighed. Noticing that the scripture was activated, Lin Feng raised his mouth. At the same time, the plot of Sun Wukong's havoc in the Heavenly Palace that he wrote just happened to end. "It's my turn to play. System, play Sun Wukong," Lin Feng said. "Okay, master." After the words fell, swish, a bright red light flashed. He turned into the appearance of Sun Wukong. He clenched his fists, feeling the power. After Sun Wukong's role-playing authority was upgraded to level 2, his strength also reached 20%, which is indeed stronger than before. After Lin Feng killed the destroyer, Sun Wukong's role-playing points were enough to upgrade his role-playing authority, so he upgraded his role-playing authority to level 2. Lin Feng smiled slightly, and without delay, he jumped and disappeared into the air, leaving only a wisp of green smoke. Chapter 40 You can only defend, but not attack. Chen Haitian was shocked and looked at the phantom of Tathagata Buddha in disbelief. This scene was too shocking. After a long while, he came back to his senses and showed joy in his eyes. Great. There is hope. Chen Haitian saw the phantom of Tathagata Buddha appear, and he felt that there was hope. At this time, Tony woke up, but he was still very weak. The palladium poisoning situation had not been alleviated at all, because there was no way to send him to the hospital now. But when he saw the situation outside the window, he was shocked and couldn't believe his eyes. What is that? He took a breath. Could it be that, like Sun Wukong, it is also a figure from ancient times? His pale face was full of shock and disbelief. Tony used to think that in ancient times, technology was advanced, and a superb genetic modification technology was mastered to transform Sun Wukong into that. But now seeing the scene of Tathagata Buddha, he suddenly felt that it didn't seem to be the case. This didn't seem to be something that genetic modification technology could do, but some ability that he didn't know about. He suddenly remembered a sentence. The end of science is theology. Is there really a theology? Tony thought to himself. At this moment, he felt faint and passed out again. Loki was shocked and couldn't believe what he saw. What did he see? Suddenly, he thought of something, and a look of realization appeared on his face. I understand. This person must be like Sun Wukong, a figure from the ancient times of the earth, and now he has awakened. Thinking of this, Loki showed disdain again. But just when he was about to take the next step, a majestic voice exploded in his ears. Loki. Hearing this voice, Loki was startled and scared to death. But he soon calmed down again, wondering, it's Odin. Why did he suddenly come to me? Odin's voice sounded again, and there was a sense of urging. Leave the earth quickly. Don't stay there any longer. Loki thought about it, and originally didn't want to pay attention, but still asked in confusion, why? You can't afford to provoke that phantom. Leave quickly, otherwise you will die there. Hearing this, Loki puffed. He thought Odin had something wrong, but didn't expect it to be this. And he had already asked the great scholar Lin Feng about the situation. These ancient figures were not powerful at all. They were far from being able to resist the Chitauri army in his hands. He thought of something, raised the corner of his mouth, and said, Odin, what did you call me? I'm your father. Odin scolded. Facing the rebuke, Loki didn't care and continued to laugh. You were alarmist as soon as you contacted me, but you didn't ask me how I survived the space crack under the Rainbow Bridge. Haha. Forget it. Let's not talk about this. You want me to leave the earth quickly. Are you afraid that after I occupy the earth, the next battle will be to Asgard? Don't worry. Sooner or later I will return to Asgard and start a war against Jotunheim. Enough Loki, don't talk about this anymore. Leave the earth quickly. Odin urged anxiously. But this time, Loki didn't reply again. At this time, Heimdall's voice came. King, His Highness Loki, cut off the contact. Hearing this, Odin was stunned for a moment. Immediately, he sighed heavily, held the scepter, and showed helplessness and pain on his face. Loki jumped off the Rainbow Bridge and disappeared before, and he really thought Loki was dead. But now seeing that Loki is not dead, he is very happy, and he risked his life to let Heimdall look at the earth and contact Loki, just to make him stop this stupid behavior. But he didn't expect that the child didn't listen at all. Odin shook his head, and the twilight on his body became heavier. After the connection was cut off, there was no more Odin's voice in his ears, but Loki fell silent. He had always wanted to prove to his father that he was no worse than Thor. But now he knew that he could never be better than Thor, because he was the child of the frost giant. Shaking his head, Loki didn't think about these things anymore. These are all in the past. The present is the big thing in the future. He restrained his emotions, looked at Chen Haitian, and said in a bad and sarcastic tone, with this little ability, you want to hinder my Chitauri army? Immediately, he raised his scepter and ordered the Chitauri army outside the golden light shield. Listen outside, smash this man and this golden light shield for me. After the words fell, countless Chitauri soldiers stopped in the air, facing the golden light shield and the shadow of Tathagata Buddha, including the huge mechanical worm. It was also facing the golden light shield. This scene was very grand and spectacular. Loki sneered. Chen Haitian took a breath and looked surprised. Bang, 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 bang. The next moment, all the Zetas soldiers launched an attack, including the mechanical worm. Countless energy beams bombarded the golden light shield and the phantom of the Tathagata Buddha, making a loud noise. However, the scene of breaking did not happen, but only aroused lines like water ripples, making a heavy muffled sound. And after the attack disappeared, it quickly returned to normal. However, the Zetas soldiers in the sky fired beams together and continuously, attacking the golden light shield and the phantom of the Tathagata Buddha, which was even more spectacular. The golden light shield was like the surface of the water, and the attack beams were like raindrops falling on the water, forming a large number of ripples. The sound of bang 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 was endless. But despite the shock, the attack had no effect at all, and Loki frowned. It actually has no effect? Chen Haitian was originally a little worried that it would be broken by such a battle, but after seeing that the opponent's attack had no effect, he put his heart back in his stomach and straightened his back, smiling and said, "Hey, what did you say just now? You want to break this golden light shield?" Chen Haitian's words were full of sarcasm. He is very confident now. Loki heard this, his face turned cold, and he showed displeasure. He heard that the other party was mocking. But suddenly, he thought of something, and turned his anger into laughter, saying, "Why? Do you think you are safe? Look around carefully, many of my soldiers are in the golden light shield." Chen Haitian heard this and remembered this. Even if this golden light shield covered Xiangjiang city, and prevented the alien soldiers from descending into the city, there were already a large number of alien soldiers in the city. Looking around, the war caused by alien soldiers was still going on in all directions, and there were also several giant mechanical worms flying around in the city, constantly destroying high-rise buildings. Chen Haitian's face rose. Loki saw his reaction and still seemed to have the upper hand. He laughed and said, "Besides, don't forget, this city is protected by this golden shield. But what about other cities? My soldiers can still attack other cities." Loki saw that this huge phantom was really just a phantom, not a real person. And it seemed to have only the ability to defend, not the ability to kill the enemy. But what's the use of this? There are other cities to go to. Chapter 41. Where is the fighting Buddha? Loki looked very proud, raised his scepter, and said to the Chitauri army that was still attacking the golden light shield and the phantom of the Buddha, "Listen outside, attack other cities." Boom boom boom. The order was issued. All the Chitauri soldiers outside immediately stopped attacking, and then flew towards the mainland in unison. The flying Chitauri army looked like a locust plague. Seeing this, Chen Haitian's pupils shrank, and his face was full of astonishment. Xiangjiang city has been destroyed, and now they are going to attack other cities! Exclamation mark. Ha ha ha. Loki laughed up to the sky and said, "What can you do now? Can't you just stare at me? But what's the use? In a short while, my Chitauri army will be able to capture the next city!" Exclamation mark. This planet will be mine sooner or later! Exclamation mark. Loki's voice, which was diffused and penetrated by his witchcraft, was heard from far away. The survivors all heard it, and they also saw aliens flying all over the sky outside the golden light shield. They were stunned. Then, they panicked again. It's over, it's over, these aliens are going to attack the next city again. Woo woo woo, let's not talk about that first. There are so many aliens in this golden light shield. What should we do? Is this golden shadow really only defensive? Doesn't it have the ability to attack? I don't know. Where is Sun Wukong? Why hasn't Sun Wukong come yet? If he comes, we will definitely be saved. According to the situation, even if Sun Wukong comes, he may not be able to win. Look at so many aliens, they are like locusts passing through, and there are also mechanical worms that are similar to long worms. They are hideous and huge. It's hard to deal with them at first glance. Woo woo woo, what should we do? Is the earth really going to be occupied by aliens? What will we become then? Will we become slaves? Everyone talked a lot and panicked again. Thor heard Loki's arrogant words, and while dealing with the alien soldiers, he was anxious. Damn it, this Loki is really going crazy, and testing the edge of death. Isn't this just angering the Tathagata Buddha? Exclamation mark. At this time, a majestic voice sounded from his ears. "Thor, father, Hearing this voice, Thor's whole body was shocked, and his mind was blank for a moment. But fortunately, he quickly came to his senses, dodged the attack of an alien soldier, and threw the hammer at it. With a bang, it was knocked off the aircraft, and then reached out to recall the hammer. Odin's voice sounded again. Take care of yourself, and don't provoke that golden shadow. Thor's heart was shocked. He instantly understood that his father should know everything. Now he suddenly contacted him to remind himself. He said, "What about Loki?" Alas, I advised Loki to stop, but he didn't listen. Thor, I know. After a long while, Thor responded. His face was complicated. Through his father's words, he could already imagine Loki's reaction at that time. He certainly didn't believe what his father said. No one can persuade Loki now, Thor said helplessly. After Odin contacted his eldest son, he asked Heimdall not to look at the earth again, lest the real body of the golden shadow appear and find someone peeping at the earth, causing the other party's displeasure. Heimdall didn't say anything, silently obeyed the king's instructions, and didn't look at the earth again. Chen Haitian's face changed drastically. With so many alien soldiers, it really won't take too long to destroy the next city. Loki saw that Chen Haitian didn't speak, with a look of shock on his face, and laughed again. Ha ha ha, you know you are scared, right? I'll give you another chance. Surrender to me, kneel down to me, and I will spare your life. Loki cast witchcraft again, making the sound have the effect of amplification and penetration, and it spread in all directions for a while. Everyone heard it, and they were desperate and scared. Chen Haitian gritted his teeth, and was extremely angry. Immediately, he turned to look at the phantom of Tathagata Buddha, and prayed sincerely in his heart, Tathagata Buddha, if you really have the power to bless, please protect us. Chen Haitian didn't know if his prayer would be useful, but he had no choice but to give it a try. Loki saw Chen Haitian looking at the phantom of Tathagata Buddha, and guessed what he was thinking. But he said with disdain, "What? Are you still thinking that this phantom can help you? Ha ha ha, you are really dreaming. This phantom is obviously just bluffing. It made such a big scene, but in the end it can only defend. What's the use?" Loki smiled, and his words were full of ridicule. But at this time, he heard a voice that shocked him. Amitabha. The phantom of Tathagata Buddha spoke again after it appeared. "Where is the fighting Buddha?" The words of Tathagata Buddha were solemn and grand, spreading in all directions. Loki was shocked. Hearing this, the survivors were collectively stunned. Soon, they reacted, but their faces were full of doubts. Fighting Buddha? Who is that? What did this golden shadow suddenly ask Fighting Buddha to do? Is he calling for a helper? Exclamation mark. Everyone was surprised, confused, and excited, but some people didn't react at all, because this situation was too sudden. Chen Haitian was stunned. He didn't expect such a scene to happen suddenly. Soon, he came back to his senses. Could it be that his prayers worked? The other party called someone to help? But who is this Fighting Buddha? Is he the third ancient figure to awaken? This title seems very domineering. Chen Haitian thought about it and became excited. Loki was also surprised when he heard this, and was curious about this Fighting Buddha. However, he thought of something, and quickly calmed down. He looked around, but didn't see any Fighting Buddha, so he laughed at the shadow of Tathagata Buddha. Haha, where is the Fighting Buddha you mentioned? Not to mention that he didn't come. What's the use even if he came? I already know the strength of you guys. If you have the courage, show up and see how my Chitauri will destroy you. Loki was confident and arrogant, as if he was invincible with the Chitauri in his hands. In fact, he did have the capital to be arrogant. The Chitauri conquered the universe, searched for the Infinity Stones, and destroyed the civilizations of countless planets. This is enough to show their strength. And just as he finished speaking, suddenly, a familiar and unruly voice rang out between heaven and earth. Hey, don't be so rampant, you Evaldoers. I, Sun, am here. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 42, Killing All Around. As soon as these words came out, they spread in all directions in an instant. All the survivors heard this voice and were collectively stunned. Then, they were immediately surprised and delighted. It was him. The fighting Buddha turned out to be Sun Wukong! Exclamation mark. He finally came! Exclamation mark. Chen Haitian was also surprised and excited when he heard it. He knew who the fighting Buddha was. He hurriedly looked at the sky around him, wanting to see where Sun Wukong was flying from. Thor was stunned. Soon, he also reacted. The fighting Buddha turned out to be Sun Wukong. Loki was stunned for a moment and did not expect this situation. But he quickly returned to normal and raised the corners of his mouth. You came just in time. Loki sneered. He was still wondering who this fighting Buddha was, but he did not expect it to be Sun Wukong. However, this was exactly what he wanted. Because he wanted to kill Sun Wukong in the first place. This saved him from looking for him later. Chen Haitian looked around, excited, and wanted to see where Sun Wukong was flying from. But suddenly, the sky in the distance to the west was a fiery red, as if it was rendered by something. But it was clearly morning, so it couldn't be caused by the sunset. Chen Haitian realized something, took a breath, and looked intently. Under the gorgeous sky, there was a fiery red light flying at high speed. Although this scene did not look as spectacular as the appearance of the Phantom of Tathagata Buddha, it was enough to shock the eye. Boom boom boom. Sun Wukong, played by Lin Feng, turned into a fiery red light and flew at high speed, and the air burst into an explosion. The surrounding clouds were hit by the powerful airwaves and instantly rolled back to both sides and separated, as if making way. In this scene, the clouds rolled back to make way, and the sky was dyed fiery red again. Sun Wukong, played by Lin Feng, seemed to be coming with an unmatched momentum. All the survivors saw this scene and were shocked. Fuck, is that red light him? Of course it is. Didn't you hear the voice "Here comes Sun Wukong" just now? But isn't Sun Wukong's title the Great Sage equaling heaven? Why is he called Fighting Buddha? And who is this golden shadow? Why can he call Sun Wukong? Yeah, I'm curious too. Don't be too happy yet. Sun Wukong may not be able to deal with so many aliens. And there are also those mechanical worms that look like worms. It looks like they will be difficult to deal with. Ah, no way. Seeing Sun Wukong appear, some people were ecstatic. While some people were happy, they were also curious. Why did the Golden Shadow call Sun Wukong to call Fighting Buddha? And why did he come here as soon as he called him? Are these two people related? Others were worried that Sun Wukong could not defeat this alien army because the number of alien army members was too large, just like the number of locusts in a locust plague. The Chitauri soldiers also saw the approaching fiery red light and all stopped in midair, also curious and surprised. What was flying at such a high speed? At the same time, on the aerospace aircraft carrier, Nick and Captain America looked at the sky in the distance in shock. The sky, which was rendered in fiery red, deeply shocked their eyes. Captain America had been shocked once when he saw the Phantom of Tathagata Buddha appear. Now seeing such a spectacular and magical scene for the second time, he has completely believed that this is not the power of technology, but some kind of mysterious power, or in other words, the mysterious power of ancient China. Mr. Fury, this is the Sun Wukong you mentioned before, right? Captain America asked in surprise. But isn't he called the Great Sage equaling heaven? Why is he called Fighting Buddha? He just heard the Phantom of Tathagata Buddha speak. And Nick had previously popularized the story of Sun Wukong to him. Well, Nick nodded and then said, I'm not clear about this. Maybe the Great Sage equaling heaven and Fighting Buddha are both Sun Wukong. Captain America did not speak, but felt incredible. Nick frowned. But suddenly, he thought of something. His face changed drastically, and he quickly took out the walkie-talkie and gave an order. Quick, return. Stay away from the Chinese waters. Quick. Nick's tone suddenly became urgent, as if something bad had happened. Captain America frowned when he heard it, not understanding what was going on. But before he could ask, a serious voice came from the communicator, sounding like a superior. Fury, why do you want to return? The other party asked. Nick said anxiously, Sun Wukong has appeared. What if we continue to stay here, and Sun Wukong thinks we are in the same group as the aliens, and then he will attack us? The other party was silent. Captain America next to him also took a breath and realized this. Yes. What should we do then? The other party was silent and then said, but this time we have a good observation of the situation of Sun Wukong and other characters. Maybe we can get some important information, or replicate their abilities. So I don't allow them to return. Besides, if this happens, you can negotiate with Sun Wukong and explain it. I'm sorry, sir, I won't risk the lives of the crew. After that, Nick decisively hung up the communication and continued to issue the order to return. Captain America didn't say anything. He also agreed with Nick's approach. The aerospace aircraft carrier began to return. It's coming. It's really coming. My prayers are useful. Chen Haitian was ecstatic. He had seen that fiery red light dozens of times in reality and in the video, and he would never make a mistake. What's more, there was that familiar and unruly voice just now. Chen Haitian hurriedly looked at the phantom of Tathagata Buddha again, and was grateful in his heart. Thank you very much. He didn't know what the relationship between Tathagata Buddha and Sun Wukong was, nor did he know why he was called Fighting Buddha. But, he knew that it was Tathagata Buddha who called Sun Wukong over. Thor was stunned. He had not expected such a situation. But when he saw Sun Wukong flying at high speed, he took a breath. I thought Sun Wukong was already very powerful, but now it seems that I have underestimated him. Just flying over caused such a scene. How strong must he be? But can he destroy the Chitauri army and close the space tunnel? The Chitauri soldiers are not vegetarians either. Thor had some doubts in his heart. If it was the Buddha himself who came and took action, then he would definitely not doubt it, because the Buddha is too strong. But Sun Wukong, he had some doubts. Loki was also shocked at first, but he thought of something, and his mentality was put down again. At this time, he looked at this scene with a sneer on his face. Sun Wukong, I was going to find you, but I didn't expect you to come to my door by yourself. Then let's settle the old accounts before. Loki pointed his scepter at the red light flying at high speed and shouted, kill that man for me. Boom boom boom. The order was issued. The Chitauri army, which was originally going to attack the next city, rushed towards the flying red light. In this scene, a large number of Chitauri soldiers rushed towards the red light like a rain of arrows, which looked very shocking. Boom. The red light suddenly turned into a figure. It was Sun Wukong played by Lin Feng. The timing is just right. Lin Feng said secretly. He arranged all this. The phantom of Tathagata Buddha appeared and said, where is the fighting Buddha? It was all to arouse people's curiosity and shock, so as to better earn shock points. At this time, his shock point was rising rapidly. However, Lin Feng did not continue to pay attention to this. He adjusted his mentality and concentrated on acting. Hey, where did the monster come from? How dare you run wild here? Die. Lin Feng shouted, holding the golden hoop tightly. Without pausing, he rushed straight towards the Chitauri army. The Chitauri army saw Lin Feng rushing over and did not retreat at all. Bang 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 bang. But Lin Feng collided with the Chitauri army. Lin Feng waved the golden hoop in his hand, hitting, smashing, picking, stabbing, or throwing. The Chitauri soldiers would explode and die immediately if they were hit. For a moment, Lin Feng rushed into an empty space and killed everyone. Chapter 43 Lin Feng was surrounded by Zeta soldiers. Seeing this scene, Chen Haitian took a breath and looked surprised. But Loki still looked like he had won the battle. Suddenly, he asked the Chitauri soldiers to fly the aircraft in the direction of Lin Feng. Seeing Loki suddenly fly away, Chen Haitian showed surprise on his face. But when he saw that the direction he was flying was exactly the direction of Sun Wukong, his surprise turned into astonishment, and he didn't know what he was going to do. Thor also saw it. He stared, but couldn't figure out what Loki wanted to do. Loki flew below Lin Feng. He was inside the golden light shield, and Lin Feng was outside. Loki looked at Lin Feng who was fighting, and sneered. Pause, you all disperse. I have something to say to him. After that, the Chitauri soldiers retreated like a tide, forming an encirclement. And Lin Feng was in the center of the encirclement. Lin Feng stopped swinging the stick, carried it on his shoulder, and looked down at Loki. He was a little confused, and didn't understand what Loki wanted to do. Loki looked directly at Lin Feng and smiled meaningfully. I know you are confused now. What am I doing here? You haven't seen me, but I have seen you. Lin Feng was stunned. He was playing the role of Sun Wukong. Where had he seen him? But he thought about it and understood. The last time he fought the destroyer, Loki should have seen himself through the destroyer's vision. However, he was playing the role of Sun Wukong now, so he had to speak from Sun Wukong's perspective. Where have you seen me? Why haven't I seen you? Lin Feng finished speaking and reprimanded. Let's not talk about this. Where did you come from, monster? You dare to lead a group of little monsters to make trouble here and harm lives. Haha, I'm not a monster. Although Loki didn't understand what monster meant, he could guess that it shouldn't be a good thing. He said again, I'm a god. God? Another hairy god? Lin Feng asked in confusion. Loki didn't understand what this meant, but he could also hear that this hairy god shouldn't be a good name. However, why did he say again? But when Thor heard this, he understood. Sun Wukong was talking about himself. To be honest, he felt a little helpless when he heard this title. He was the Prince of Asgard, the eldest son of Odin, and he was indeed a god in the 9 realms. But in Sun Wukong's mouth, it became a hairy god, a title that seemed to be inferior to the gods. Thor didn't know what the era was like in Sun Wukong. If he knew, he would have self-knowledge, and there was no problem with Sun Wukong calling them like this. Loki didn't think about the problem of again, but he was bothered by the title of hairy god and even felt angry in his heart. His face turned cold, and he scolded. What kind of god is that? I'm a noble god. You are such a lowly creature. You are still stubborn, even when you are about to die. I have already found out your strength. You are not that strong, or rather, you are not that strong. You ruined my plan last time, and I haven't settled the score with you yet. Now let's settle the old scores together. Kneel down. Loki pointed his scepter at Lin Feng, wanting him to kneel down. Ha ha ha. But when Lin Feng heard this, he laughed, thinking to himself, this Loki was fooled by me. However, he is now playing the role of Sun Wukong, so he has to speak from the perspective of Sun Wukong. When you made trouble in the heavenly palace, I was not afraid. Now you, a bunch of shrimp soldiers and shrimp generals, dare to make me kneel down and die. Kill. Lin Feng shouted angrily. He was wearing ancient style armor, and the fiery red cloak behind him fluttered in the wind, making a rustling sound. Standing in the air, he was chic and handsome. At this moment, Lin Feng seemed to have truly experienced the artistic conception of Sun Wukong. As soon as the word kill fell, an invisible wave of air burst out from his body and instantly rushed in all directions. The Zatori soldiers who formed the encirclement were impacted, and the aircraft they were driving became unstable and shook backwards. Hiss. Seeing this scene, Chen Haitian took a breath and felt an unruly attitude. At the same time, he also heard a key point, making trouble in the heavenly palace. This should be something that happened to Sun Wukong before, right? Chen Haitian thought to himself. Loki sneered and didn't care about Lin Feng's words. Shrimp soldiers and crab generals? Haha, you don't know what army you are facing. Loki mocked. He pointed at Lin Feng with his scepter and said, everyone outside, come on. Kill him. Boom boom boom. The order was issued. The Zatori soldiers who had formed the encirclement collectively screamed and rushed towards Lin Feng. Some directly drove the aircraft to try to hit Lin Feng. Some continued to launch beam attacks on Lin Feng. Bang, bang, ha. Lin Feng's figure was like a fleeting shadow, very fast, like a stream of fiery red light, dodging the beam attack in the air. At the same time, he waved the golden hoop in his hand, constantly taking away one Chitauri soldier after another. No Chitauri soldier could survive being hit by his golden hoop. For a while, the beam attacks in the sky continued. The flames of explosions also kept appearing, and the sound of bangs was endless. Some beam attacks could even hit the golden light shield, but it still had no effect. It could only stir up ripples like water ripples, and it couldn't be damaged at all. Seeing this scene, all the survivors in the city were stunned. Fuck. This is a real battle. Isn't this too shocking? Yeah. In this situation, even computer special effects can't be made. Nonsense. Can Sun Wukong win? I don't know. It feels a bit shaky. There are too many aliens. And did you see? Sun Wukong seems to be dodging the beam attacks all the time. But if it goes on like this, with so many enemies, how long will it take to fight? Moreover, aliens are constantly appearing in the space tunnel. Yeah, if it goes on like this, Sun Wukong will sooner or later run out of strength. People hid in the ruins, talking about it, and worried that Sun Wukong would not be able to defeat these aliens. Chen Haitian also looked worried about this. But suddenly, he thought, since Tathagata Buddha would ask Sun Wukong to come, then he should be able to do it, right? Chen Haitian thought to himself. But he was not sure. Loki had a confident smile on his face. Oh, if we fight like this, how long will it take? Now it seems that what the scholar Lin Feng said is right. This Sun Wukong is indeed not strong enough. As long as there are more people, he can't beat him, and he can be worn out to death. Loki seemed to see the scene of Lin Feng being worn out to death. Boom boom boom. Lin Feng was very fast, like a stream of fiery red light, and he was at ease in the encirclement of the Chitauri soldiers, constantly taking the lives of the Chitauri soldiers. But the Chitauri soldiers also discovered this situation, so they began to gather in large numbers to restrict Lin Feng's movement trajectory. Soon, a huge sphere composed of Chitauri soldiers appeared, and Lin Feng was wrapped in the sphere. Seeing this scene, Chen Haitian's face changed. Chapter 44. Pull out a hair and blow out 10,000 monkeys. All the survivors saw this scene. Their faces changed drastically. They were terrified, and they dared not believe that Sun Wukong was trapped inside. It's over. Sun Wukong is trapped inside. Damn aliens. Damn it. Woo woo woo. We are finished now. No, I don't believe Sun Wukong is so weak. Yes. Everyone saw the momentum he just flew over, right? He can't be so weak. There were discussions. Some people were emotional and didn't believe that Sun Wukong was so weak. But some people were already desperate. Sun Wukong was already trapped. What hope was there? A sad and desperate mood gradually spread. Ha ha ha. Loki laughed up to the sky, wantonly venting the pleasure of revenge in his heart. Sun Wukong, you didn't expect it? This is the retribution for you blocking my plan at that time. Sun Wukong was trapped among the Chitauri soldiers and would definitely die inside. The next step is to continue attacking this city. With this in mind, Loki looked at the Chitauri soldiers around him and gave an order. Continue to attack this city and the Earthlings until they surrender. Boom boom boom. The Chitauri soldiers who received the order started to move again. Chen Haitian saw this scene and his expression was desperate. There was no light in his eyes. What else can he do? Sun Wukong is trapped. Buzz buzz buzz. But at this moment, a series of buzzing sounds rang out. Chen Haitian heard it and subconsciously looked around to find the source of the sound. But after searching for a while, it seemed that there was no source of the sound. Suddenly, he realized something and looked up. He saw that the huge ball composed of Chitauri soldiers in the sky was constantly vibrating at this moment. And this buzzing sound came from there. Chen Haitian was puzzled. But suddenly, a glimmer of hope and light appeared in his eyes. Could it be? Loki also saw it. He had a trace of doubt in his heart, but he immediately dispelled it. He sneered and said, "Are you killing Sun Wukong?" Hearing this, Chen Haitian trembled suddenly. This is killing Sun Wukong? He didn't know what Sun Wukong was like, nor did he know about the Chitauri Corps, so when he heard what Loki said, he thought it was something else. Suddenly, all the hope and light in his eyes disappeared. But suddenly, something strange happened. The vibration of the ball became louder and louder, and the buzzing sound became louder and louder. This situation felt like a bomb about to explode. But in fact, this description was almost the same. At this time, many red lights burst out from the cracks on the ball, and the vibration of the ball became louder and louder, and finally even the naked eye could not see the vibration frequency. Bang! Suddenly there was a loud noise, and the ball suddenly exploded, like a bomb explosion. And a large number of Chitauri soldiers and aircraft were shaken away like shrapnel, flying in all directions. This scene was very spectacular! Exclamation mark. The Chitauri soldiers screamed and couldn't control their bodies at all. Bang, bang, bang. Some of them crashed into the golden light shield like meteorites. The soldiers were fine, with only broken bones and tendons at most. But their aircraft exploded directly. But for the golden light shield, their crash only caused ripples like water ripples, and nothing else happened. For a moment, the scene was extremely spectacular. In the center of the original sphere, there was a ball of fiery red flame. Then the flame disappeared, revealing the appearance of Sun Wukong. Seeing this scene, all the survivors gasped, with shock in their eyes. The next moment, everyone reacted and made excited and enthusiastic voices. Great. Sun Wukong is not dead. He is still alive. Woo woo woo. Great. Ha ha ha. I knew he wouldn't die so easily. Come on, Sun Wukong. The survivors shouted. A sense of hope and excitement began to spread among the crowd, dispelling the previous despair and panic. And those Zatori soldiers who received orders to continue attacking the city also stopped in surprise when they saw this scene. Chen Haitian also looked at this scene in shock and couldn't believe his eyes. The next moment, he reacted and became excited. Great. Sun Wukong is still alive. But suddenly, he was excited and thought of something, turned his head and looked at Loki with a strange look in his eyes. He remembered that the culprit had said before that these alien soldiers were killing Sun Wukong. Loki's eyes almost popped out and he looked at this scene in disbelief. At the same time, he also felt like he was slapped in the face. Just now, I thought Sun Wukong was being killed, but I didn't expect that the other party broke free. Loki gritted his teeth and burned with anger. He raised his scepter and shouted angrily, "Everyone outside, come on, kill him. Kill him." Loki's killing intention for Sun Wukong has reached the extreme, and he shouted kill him twice. This kind of lowly creature dares to anger him again and again. It's really nonsense! Exclamation mark. Boom boom boom. A large number of Zatori soldiers rushed towards Lin Feng, and there were also many giant mechanical worms. For a moment, in the sky, the Chitauri army that covered the sky and the sun rushed towards Lin Feng. Loki sneered angrily, "You are not strong enough. I have so many Chitauri soldiers in my hands. I can wear you out." Loki had no other ideas, only one. When Sun Wukong's physical strength is exhausted, it will be his time to die. Chen Haitian was shocked, and his heart was pounding. He didn't notice that there were so many alien soldiers. Suddenly, he thought of something, and turned his head to look at the azure-light column in the distance. That space tunnel is still constantly showing alien soldiers. If it is not closed, there will be a constant flow of support. Sun Wukong will not be able to hold on sooner or later. Damn it. Go and turn that thing off. Chen Haitian was secretly anxious. But when he thought about it, there was no way. Now, let alone going there, even if he could get to the space device, what would happen? Even a super genius like Tony couldn't shut it down. What else could he do? Exclamation mark. Lin Feng saw the Chitauri army rushing over, and there was no fear on his face. He even guessed Loki's idea that he was fooled by him and wanted to rely on a round-robin battle to consume his physical strength and win. Lin Feng wanted to laugh in his heart, but on the surface, he imitated the tone of Sun Wukong and said, "Come on, you bunch of monsters, let you see Grandpa Sun's methods. Change." Lin Feng shouted, waved the golden hoop, and then stuck it in the void. But even though it was stuck in the void, it made a dull dong sound. Then, he pulled out a bunch of monkey hair and blew it towards the Chitauri army rushing over. It was obviously just a breath. But suddenly a strong wind blew. In the strong wind, all the monkey hairs flashed with fiery red light and turned into the appearance of Sun Wukong. And there were so many that they could not be counted. Seeing this scene, all the survivors were shocked to the extreme. Chapter 45. Chaos everywhere. The Chitauri army is like chickens and dogs. Hiss. Everyone was shocked. Looking at the sky full of Sun Wukongs, they couldn't believe that this scene was real. Immediately, they became excited and excited. Fuck. So many Sun Wukongs. Doppelganger. These are avatars, right? Comics and movies have come true. Awesome. Shocking. So shocking. Ha ha ha. With so many avatars, they should be able to beat these aliens, right? Discussions were raging. Everyone was excited and excited. What is going on? Chen Haitian was also very excited. This scene was really unexpected. With so many avatars, they should be able to deal with these alien soldiers, right? Chen Haitian said expectantly. However, he remembered something and said, but now the most important thing is the space tunnel device. I hope Sun Wukong can find a way to shut it down. Chen Haitian frowned and looked in the direction of the azurite column. The black hole was still flying out alien soldiers. It must be shut down. Hiss. Gu Yi took a breath of cold air and showed a look of surprise on his face. Among the magics he mastered, there was also such a clone magic. However, he could not create so many clones. Moreover, he sensed that each clone of Sun Wukong had a strong combat power, not just multiple people. This was much more advanced than his magic clones. Sure enough, these people have a power far beyond magic. But, what kind of power is this? Gu Yi was very curious. He could not understand this power, but he could feel the antiquity and mystery, which was far more profound than magic. So many Sun Wukongs. Thor was shocked, and could not believe his eyes. He rubbed his eyes and looked again, and there were still so many Sun Wukongs. They were so dense, that they could not be counted. Thor was stunned. On the returning aerospace aircraft carrier, seeing the picture displayed on the tablet, Nick and Captain America were both shocked and could not believe it. What kind of miracle is this? Captain America said in surprise. He once again felt that he had not been dug out yet. Otherwise, how come it feels like the world has become like this after decades? Nick didn't know that Captain America had doubts about reality again. However, he also felt incredible. At the same time, he was somewhat thankful. He had originally planned to go to China to take advantage of the situation, but now it seems that it was a good thing that he ran fast at that time. If he had waited for Sun Wukong to use this trick, he would definitely have been discovered. By then, it would be too late to run away. He would definitely be mistaken for an alien and attacked. Loki's face changed drastically, and he became a little panicked. He didn't expect Sun Wukong to have such an ability. However, he quickly calmed down when he thought of what the scholar Lin Feng said. He raised the corner of his mouth and showed a contemptuous sneer. It's just bluffing. Don't resist in vain. I said it long ago. I have already found out your strength. You are not strong at all. What's the use of you turning into so many clones now? They are just vulnerable. Loki said, opening his hands with a contemptuous attitude. But those who saw his reaction were collectively stunned. Gu Yi thought, what is this second prince of Asgard doing? Chen Haitian blinked, confused. But among them, Thor was the most confused. As Loki's brother, Thor thought that Loki had a brain injury? Lin Feng wanted to laugh even more when he heard this. Loki was completely fooled by himself. But he thought so, but he said, you are so blind, I will open your eyes soon. After that, Lin Feng raised the golden hoop and pointed at the Chitauri army and said, kill. Countless Sun Wukongs rushed towards the Chitauri army with shouts. One side was the Chitauri army, and the other side was Lin Feng's clone. For a while, the two sides started a melee. Bang, bang, bang. The Sun Wukong swung their golden hoop sticks, either blowing up the aircraft or directly killing the Chitauri soldiers. The Chitauri soldiers also continuously fired beam attacks, or directly drove aircraft to hit Sun Wukong's clones. In the sky, there was a dark melee, and fire appeared from time to time. Bangs, fighting sounds, and screams were heard all the time. But they were all screams of the Chitauri soldiers. Moreover, the dead Chitauri soldiers, broken limbs, or scrapped aircraft fell down like rain, all falling on the golden light shield. But apart from the ripples like water ripples, there was no damage to the golden light shield. However, such a scene looked very shocking. Chen Haitian took a breath and watched in amazement. Such a shocking and magical scene, he believed that he would never forget it. At this time, there were still many Sun Wukong clones flying directly towards the golden light shield. Chen Haitian's pupils shrank. Not good. This golden light shield was created by the Phantom of Tathagata Buddha to resist the external soldiers. Sun Wukong's clone is now flying up. Wouldn't it just hit him directly? But just as he was about to warn him, he saw a surprising scene. Sun Wukong's clone actually passed through the golden transparent light shield easily and didn't hit him at all. What's going on? Chen Haitian's brain crashed for a moment. But suddenly, he realized that, since Sun Wukong was summoned by Tathagata Buddha, how could the golden light shield he made block Sun Wukong? But after thinking about this, he couldn't help but sigh again at the magic of this ability, which could actually distinguish between enemies and friends. Loki's eyes almost popped out when he saw this scene. He just thought that Sun Wukong's clone would hit him. He even looked forward to this scene. But it didn't happen, but came in easily. Damn it. Loki cursed inwardly. He immediately asked the Zatori soldiers to drive the aircraft away from here. Sun Wukong's clone came in to deal with the Chitauri soldiers in the city. I can't fight him head on. I have to hide first and wait until he runs out of energy. Loki thought to himself. Swoosh. Loki flew away. Chen Haitian saw this and was puzzled. After Sun Wukong's clone entered the golden light shield, it scattered in all directions, looking for Chitauri soldiers. A group of people were being chased by several Chitauri soldiers. They were panicked, shouting for help in fear, and running non-stop on the ground. The Chitauri soldiers were chasing them with strange screams, and at the same time they kept sending out beams of attack, but they didn't hit them, as if they were playing a game. But suddenly, a stream of fiery red light flew over one of the Chitauri soldiers, and turned directly into Sun Wukong's clone. Then a stick fell down, and with a bang, the Chitauri soldier's head was smashed and juice splashed. Then he quickly came to another Chitauri soldier, and swept him with his stick, knocking him away like a cannonball, smashing into the wall in the distance, and killing him on the spot. Then, he came to another Chitauri soldier, and killed him as well. In the blink of an eye, one of Sun Wukong's clones wiped out several Chitauri soldiers. Chapter 46 Sun Wukong vs the giant mechanical worm. Sun Wukong's clone did not stop, and quickly turned into a stream of fiery red light and flew away. The people who were rescued were stunned in place, and they had not yet reacted. After a few seconds, they came back to their senses and immediately became excited and grateful. Great. We are saved. Thank you Sun Wukong. Woo woo woo. Finally saved. Sun Wukong is really amazing. Chen Haitian sighed. The Zatori soldiers attacked them again. And they didn't have much ammunition, so they could only hide in the house at this moment. Damn it. Chen Haitian gritted his teeth as he looked at the aliens in the sky outside who were madly firing beams of attack. Sun Wukong's clone has come in. Wait for them to come. You're done. But suddenly, at this moment, a stream of fiery red light flew over and turned into Sun Wukong's clone. With a few bangs, it solved these alien soldiers. Then, it turned into a stream of light and flew away. Chen Haitian was stunned when he saw it. Then, he immediately became excited. Thor was besieged by a large number of Chitauri soldiers. Although he was very powerful with Mjolnir in his hand, he could not withstand the large number of Chitauri soldiers. After Thor killed one, another one immediately besieged him. After a fierce battle, the bodies and flying vehicles of Chitauri soldiers were everywhere around him. However, a large number of Chitauri soldiers still rushed to kill him. Damn it. Thor cursed inwardly. But suddenly, two streams of light fell and turned into Sun Wukong's clones and then began to attack the Chitauri soldiers, one by one, like autumn wind sweeping fallen leaves, and quickly solved the surrounding Chitauri soldiers. Thor was surprised when he saw this scene. He didn't do anything just now and let the two Sun Wukong clones kill them all. Suddenly, Thor remembered something and immediately looked at Sun Wukong's clones nervously and vigilantly. He had contact with Sun Wukong before, but it was not a good contact. Sun Wukong threw away his Mjolnir, so he was worried that Sun Wukong would attack him. But he obviously thought too much. Sun Wukong's clone didn't even look at him. He waved the golden hoop and put it behind him. Then, he jumped directly into the air and turned into a stream of light and flew away. Thor felt ignored. Ancient One was protecting the Xiangjiang temple from being destroyed by the Chitauri army. He was at ease and had no difficulty. But suddenly, three fiery red streams of light flew over and turned into three Sun Wukong's clones. With a few bangs, they eliminated the Chitauri army around. Then, they all looked at Ancient One and turned into streams of light again and flew away. Just one glance, Ancient One saw an ancient and mysterious thing in Sun Wukong's eyes. This thing shocked him. Tao. Ancient One couldn't help but mutter. But suddenly, he reacted and immediately became confused again. Why did he say this? What is Tao? In addition to these places, other places in the city, as long as there are Chitauri soldiers, this scene is being played out. Sun Wukong's clones searched for the Chitauri soldiers in all directions and destroyed them. The survivors cheered and danced excitedly. Come on, Sun Wukong. Woo woo woo, we are saved, we are saved. Damn aliens, you're done. Woo woo woo, my mother is dead, I don't have a mother anymore. Bang, bang, bang. In the sky, Sun Wukong's clones and the Chitauri army were fighting fiercely. The sound of collision, the strange cries and screams of the Chitauri soldiers were endless. Lin Feng looked at this scene with a smile on his face. Immediately, he looked in another direction. He saw a blue light column connecting the sky and opening a black hole. A large number of Chitauri soldiers flew out of the black hole continuously. We have to destroy that. Lin Feng did not hesitate. With a boom sound, he flew towards the direction of the blue light column. Chen Haitian saw this and immediately realized what Lin Feng wanted to do. He became excited. Sun Wukong is flying over there now. Can he close the space tunnel device? Loki, who was hiding, saw this scene and was shocked. Although he was not sure whether Sun Wukong could close the space tunnel device, he did not dare to gamble. He quickly ordered the Chitauri soldiers to stop Sun Wukong. Boom boom boom. A group of Chitauri soldiers and 4 or 5 giant mechanical worms flew towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng shouted, "Can you stop me with just these monsters?" Ah. Lin Feng didn't say much. He shouted angrily, raised the golden hoop and smashed it. With a bang, it hit a Chitauri soldier on the head and killed him instantly. But the powerful force pressed on the aircraft, causing it to fall rapidly. Lin Feng clenched the golden hoop and swept it, and with a bang, another Chitauri soldier was knocked away. At this time, the giant mechanical worm rushed over. It was huge, ferocious and terrifying, and its whole body was full of heavy metal. "You soulless monster, come on," Lin Feng shouted, and with a boom he broke through the air and rushed up. But just when he was about to collide with it, Lin Feng's figure disappeared and appeared on the right side of the mechanical worm. Lin Feng raised the golden hoop and smashed it towards the waist of the giant worm. Bang! With a loud bang, the mechanical worm was smashed into 2 pieces by Lin Feng. Then, as if it had lost the power to float in the air, it fell down. With a bang, it hit the golden light shield, stirring up a large ripple, and then exploded, and the flames shot up into the sky. But it had no effect on the golden light shield. Hiss. Chen Haitian took a breath when he saw this scene. He had seen the power of this giant mechanical worm. It could open a hole by flying past a high-rise building, and the building would collapse. The building in front of it was like tofu dregs. But now it was smashed into 2 pieces by Sun Wukong with a stick. This is really surprising. Sure enough, a war beyond the human combat level must be fought by people beyond this level, Chen Haitian said secretly. And Loki was also surprised. But he was still very stable and confident. Boom. Lin Feng rushed towards another mechanical worm. But at this time, a large number of Chitauri soldiers rushed up. Lin Feng held the golden hoop tightly and took one away with one stick. The sound of bangs continued. Soon Lin Feng eliminated the surrounding Chitauri soldiers. But at this time, a giant mechanical worm flew over and directly rolled up Lin Feng with its body, and then began to shrink, as if it wanted to crush Lin Feng with its steel body. Seeing this scene, the faces of the survivors changed. Ha ha ha. Loki laughed loudly. He felt that Lin Feng would definitely not be able to escape, and would be crushed. But Lin Feng's expression remained unchanged, and he laughed sarcastically. "Monster, do you think you can control me like this?" Ah, ha. Lin Feng gathered his strength, then suddenly shouted, and a powerful airway burst out of his body. With a bang, the body of the giant mechanical worm was torn into several pieces by the airway, and under the impact of the airway, it flew in all directions. Chapter 47 The Chitauri mothership arrives. Lin Feng stood in the air, his body bursting with fiery red light, like a small sun. Everyone was stunned when they saw this scene. Especially Loki. Loki couldn't believe his eyes. He is actually fine. The light on Lin Feng disappeared. Then he continued to fly towards the direction of the azurite column without stopping. Boom boom boom. Several giant mechanical worms and a large number of Chitauri soldiers rushed over, trying to stop Lin Feng from approaching the space tunnel device. But Lin Feng shouted, waving the golden hoop, and went up. Bang bang bang. The golden hoop swung, one stick and one Chitauri soldier. Even against the giant mechanical worm, it would only take 2 or 3 sticks to destroy it, and it couldn't stop his steps at all. Seeing Lin Feng getting closer and closer to the azurite column, Chen Haitian became more and more excited. As long as the space tunnel device can be closed, the remaining alien Sun Wukong will definitely be dealt with in a few moves. I hope he can successfully close it. Chen Haitian was actually unsure. Because this belongs to the category of technology. Sun Wukong was obviously not in this category. Even a super genius like Tony couldn't shut down this space tunnel device. So he was not sure whether Lin Feng could shut it down. Seeing this situation, Loki, who had been calm and confident before, became a little nervous and uneasy. He began to realize that something was wrong. However, he felt that Sun Wukong should not be able to shut down the space tunnel device. After all, Thor had just tried to shut it down with violence, but it didn't work at all. Thor had just smashed the space tunnel device with Mjolnir, but it was bounced back by the power of the cosmic cube, and the device was not damaged at all. Bang 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 bang. Lin Feng rushed towards the direction of the Agilite column. A large number of Zatori soldiers and giant mechanical worms wanted to stop him, but they were all killed by him. At this time, the sky had already been like rain, dropping the bodies of Zatori soldiers, or broken limbs, or scrapped aircraft and giant mechanical worms. Boom boom boom. But at this moment, a series of roars overwhelmed the sound of the battle and spread in all directions. Everyone heard it and was shocked. What is this sound? I don't know. Fuck. It seems to be the sound coming from that black hole. Really? Is there any danger again? Ah. No way. We just got out of danger. Don't be afraid. Sun Wukong is here. He will definitely protect us. At this time, the Zatori soldiers in the city were basically eliminated by Lin Feng's clone. But the sudden sound from the black hole made everyone nervous again, worried that there would be danger again. But some people think that Sun Wukong is here. Even if there is danger again, he will protect us. Boom boom boom. The buzzing sound became louder, as if the whole sky was filled with such sound, several times louder than the sound made by a plane flying low. Suddenly, someone saw something, and his face suddenly changed, as if he saw something shocking. Everyone, look over there. As soon as this was said, everyone looked over. But suddenly, everyone looked panicked. I saw a huge black hole opened by a blue light column in the distance, and a huge black metal horn was exposed. Everyone was shocked, and couldn't believe it. What is that? I don't know. But it seems that more and more are coming out. Fuck. It looks like an alien spaceship. It's not like, it's real. Oh my god. Fuck, is it this big? It's over. It's over. With such a big spaceship, we humans are finished. Don't be afraid. There is Sun Wukong. The exclamations continued. Everyone looked panicked and couldn't believe it. I saw that half of the Chitauri spaceship had been exposed. But this half alone was so huge that it made people feel depressed. Everyone became nervous. Hiss. Chen Haitian took a breath. His face was very shocked, and his heart was full of uneasiness. Even the spaceship has arrived. Is this a last-ditch effort, or is there any other way to deal with Sun Wukong? Chen Haitian thought uneasily. However, both of these situations are not good. Ha ha ha. Loki laughed when he saw this scene. The mothership is coming. Sun Wukong, let's see how you die. The mothership is equipped with many powerful weapons. As long as it descends to the earth, Sun Wukong will definitely die, and the earth will be destroyed at that time. Boom boom boom. More than half of the Chitauri space battleships have descended. Seeing this scene, Lin Feng thought to himself, even the mothership has descended? Well, watch me smash you to pieces. Lin Feng thought so. But he is now playing the role of Sun Wukong, so he has to speak from the perspective of Sun Wukong. He shouted angrily, hey, here comes another big monster without a soul. Let you taste my ability. After that, Lin Feng shouted loudly, and a fiery red light burst out from his body, and the cloak behind him fluttered. Then, with a bang, he broke through the air, and flew towards the direction of the Chitauri space battleship at a high speed. During the flight, he turned into a fiery red stream of light, and continued to emit a fiery red breath. The Chitauri soldiers and giant mechanical worms in front of him wanted to intercept him. But as soon as they approached, they encountered the fiery red aura that he was emitting around, and they exploded and died. Bang, bang, bang. Lin Feng turned into a stream of light, flying all the way at a high speed. The explosions of the Chitauri army also connected all the way. Everyone saw this scene, and their faces were shocked and stunned. At the same time, they also understood Lin Feng's idea. He wanted to kill that space battleship. Chen Haitian was nervous and excited. He stared at this scene with his eyes, not even daring to blink. Loki was also very nervous, and his hand holding the scepter was sweating. Bang! The next moment, the stream of light that Lin Feng turned into crashed into the Agilite column and rushed into the space battleship abruptly, making a loud noise! Exclamation mark. Crash, crash into it. Everyone was stunned and couldn't believe their eyes. Immediately, flames began to appear in various places of the space battleship, as if the interior was being destroyed. Bang, bang, bang. Immediately afterwards, explosions continued to sound. Multiple places on the space battleship were on fire. Seeing this scene, everyone came back to their senses and immediately danced with excitement. Ha ha ha, Sun Wukong is awesome. Destroy. Destroy as much as you can. You scared me just now. I told you that Sun Wukong would definitely protect us. Ha ha ha, the space battleship is useless. In front of absolute power, it's all tofu dregs. Everyone was excited and discussing. But suddenly, with a bang, an explosion louder than the previous one sounded, and a huge piece of battleship debris was blown away, and flames shot up into the sky, revealing the interior of the space battleship. But the flames were so blazing that nothing could be seen clearly. However, the space battleship tilted and seemed to be about to collapse, but half of it was still in the universe. But seeing such a scene, everyone opened their mouths wide, with surprise on their faces. Oh shit, this spaceship looks like it's going to collapse. It really is. Ha ha ha, Sun Wukong is so powerful. He actually caused such a huge amount of damage. Incredible. This is simply incredible. Oh my god, is this spaceship really going to collapse? No way. Isn't half of it still on the other side of the black hole? Chapter 48. The space battleship hits the golden shield and the situation is critical. Bang. Suddenly, a stream of fiery red light rushed out from the bottom of the space battleship and rushed towards the space tunnel device below at a high speed. Seeing this movement, the people who were discussing collectively stopped talking and were stunned. They didn't react for a while. Chen Haitian was also stunned. But the next second, he reacted, and there was a look of surprise in his eyes. Is he going to close the space tunnel device? But how is he going to close it? Chen Haitian was puzzled. But suddenly, he realized something, took a breath, and a look of surprise appeared on his face. When Loki saw that the space battleship was destroyed by Lin Feng in a powerful manner, he was shocked and stunned, and his mind was shocked, unable to accept this fact. Suddenly, he saw the scene in front of him, and his eyes were wide open, and he was shocked again. What does he want to do? Thor also took a breath and realized something. Boom boom boom. The fiery red light rushed from top to bottom to the top of the space tunnel device, and then turned back to Lin Feng. Lin Feng shouted, "Raise the golden hoop," and smashed it down. Bang! Or thunderous sound. The space tunnel device exploded instantly, and at the same time, a blue airwave spread rapidly in all directions. When spreading, there was a sonic boom. The parts and fragments of the space tunnel device also splashed around with the blue airwave. This scene was extremely shocking. Seeing this scene, everyone was shocked, and their brains crashed. At this moment, it seemed that the world was quiet. And a few seconds later, as the space tunnel device was smashed, the blue light column disappeared. The black hole lost its supporting power, and was gradually shrinking. And because it was shrinking, the Chitauri space battleship was squeezed, and kept making rumbling noises. Finally, with a bang, the space battleship was suddenly clamped off, and flames shot up into the sky. The space battleship in the universe could not be seen, because the black hole was closed, and the situation was unknown. But the space battleship in this part of the Earth was emitting flames from every part, and explosions could be seen and heard. At the same time, many Zetas soldiers jumped off the spaceship, and tried to escape. Boom boom boom. Half of the spaceship, with flames, fell straight down. Although it was only half, it was also huge. When it fell, it blocked out the sky and the sun. In the city, the survivors saw this scene, and were collectively shocked, and at a loss. Some were even scared to the point of falling to the ground, their faces full of fear and despair. It's over. Run for your life. Save us. Who will save us? Run. Run. Where can we escape to such a big spaceship? That's it. Then what should we do? Don't panic. Don't we still have the golden transparent light shield made by the phantom above us? Maybe it can block the impact of this spaceship. Ah. Can it block it? Yes. Can it block it? Although it's only half a spaceship, it's too big. Panic and anxiety spread among the crowd. However, there are still some people who believe that this golden transparent light shield should be able to block the impact of the fall of this half-space battleship. Chen Haitian took a breath, his face full of panic and uneasiness. He did not expect such a situation to happen. But suddenly, he thought of something and said, I don't know if this golden transparent light shield can block it. If the golden light shield cannot block it, then such a large space battleship will fall, and Xiangjiang City will be destroyed, and all the survivors will die. Moreover, such a large impact force may also trigger tsunamis, earthquakes and other disasters, affecting the mainland. In short, the consequences are very serious. Exclamation mark. Loki's pupils also shrank, and his face changed drastically. His mind was blank at this moment, with only the thought of it's over, it's over. Such a large space battleship fell down, and he had no place to hide. On the aerospace aircraft carrier, Nick and Captain America were shocked when they saw such a scene. They felt that Xiangjiang City was finished. And once again, they felt that returning home in time before was a clear decision, otherwise it would be too dangerous. Boom boom boom. As everyone was nervous, the sound of the spaceship falling became louder and louder, and closer. Finally, with a bang, far louder than any other noise in the world, the spaceship fell on the golden light shield without any suspense. Everyone subconsciously closed their eyes, not daring to see what the result would be. There were huge explosions and the sound of flames whistling in their ears. I don't know how long it took. Suddenly, someone shouted, "Fuck, everyone, look." As soon as these words came out, it seemed to cause a chain reaction, and everyone raised their heads and looked at the sky. But immediately their faces were shocked, and they couldn't believe the scene in front of them. They saw that the golden transparent light shield in the sky was intact. Half of the alien spaceship fell on the light shield, only causing circles of ripples. On the contrary, the battleship was even more miserable under the huge impact force, falling apart, and no longer looked like a battleship. Then, half of the spaceship began to slide down along the slope of the golden light shield. Finally, with a loud bang, it slid into the sea and sank. Perhaps in a few years, the popularity of this space battleship will surpass that of the Titanic. Seeing this scene, the survivors were stunned and couldn't believe it. After a few seconds, they reacted and immediately cheered and danced. Ha ha ha. It's okay. It's okay. Awesome. This is really amazing. Fuck, I was really scared just now. I thought it was over. Ha ha ha. It's okay. Wow, that's great. I survived. The enthusiastic and excited voices rang out. Some people were very excited, some hugged each other, tears welled up in their eyes because they survived the disaster, and some danced with excitement. But some people cried while digging through the ruins, calling the names of their relatives buried underneath. Chen Haitian's face was full of excitement. 2 lines of hot tears flowed, and his fists clenched. I survived. Chen Haitian didn't expect that the golden light shield could actually withstand the impact of the space battleship intact. At the same time, he did not expect that Lin Feng had just violently smashed the space tunnel device. This also shocked him. Lin Feng would actually use this method to close the space tunnel device. Thor was stunned on the spot, extremely surprised. Then, he reacted and took a breath. Incredible, this golden light shield actually blocked it. Just a moment ago, he thought in his mind that if the golden light shield broke, he would use Mjolnir to quickly leave here. And he just smashed that thing with one stick, but I was bounced away by that thing. How strong is he? Thor said to himself. Loki was stunned, his mind was empty. After a long while, he came back to his senses. He actually felt relieved in his heart. Immediately, he quickly shook his head, and didn't think about it. He looked up at Sun Wukong in the sky again. At this moment, he finally realized something, and said in surprise, "Master Lin Feng, the information is wrong. This Sun Wukong is very powerful. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 49. Revive them all. Lin Feng stood in the air, the fiery red cape behind him fluttering in the wind, like a dancing flame. Solved. Lin Feng raised his lips. At this moment, he remembered something, and looked in a certain direction. After a pause, he said in the tone of Sun Wukong, "There is another monster. I almost forgot about it. How can I let you escape?" After that, Lin Feng held the golden hoop in his left hand, and then raised his right hand, and grasped it in the air. A stick with golden light appeared out of thin air. Lin Feng threw it in the direction he just looked at. Swoosh! The golden stick flew away at a high speed. It disappeared soon. Seeing this scene, everyone was shocked. Did an alien escape? At this moment, with the destruction of the space battleship, the surviving Zatori soldiers and the giant mechanical worm seemed to be affected by something. The former's life breath was instantly gone, and the latter seemed to have lost its power. Both fell from the sky. Bang, bang, bang. Like hail, it hit the golden light shield, making a dull thump, and stirring up circles of ripples. Soon, there was no more Zeta soldiers in the sky, only Sun Wukong's clones. Seeing this, Lin Feng grabbed Sun Wukong's clones in the air. Suddenly, all of Sun Wukong's clones flew over, including the one in the golden light shield. During the flight, they turned back into monkey hair one by one, and flew into Lin Feng's hand. Lin Feng put away the monkey hair. The survivors looked at the sky. The sky was clear and the sun was shining, as if everything that had just happened was just an illusion. But the surrounding ruins were devastated, and corpses could be seen one after another, as if telling that everything that had just happened was not an illusion. The joy of surviving the disaster was soon diluted for some people, and they began to mourn for the dead. Some people, whose loved ones had died, were crying loudly. Others cried while crawling on the ruins, trying to dig out their relatives. Some children, whose parents were dead, stood on the roadside and cried. A sad mood spread in the city. After Chen Haitian's excitement of surviving the disaster passed, he also realized this. His face was full of sadness, but there was nothing he could do. After all, the dead cannot be resurrected. There are too many disasters caused this time. Xiangjiang city is basically destroyed. Chen Haitian said secretly. Lin Feng looked at the devastated city below and heard the voices of the people in the city. He moved his body and flew towards the phantom of Tathagata Buddha and came in front of the phantom of Tathagata Buddha. Seeing this scene, the survivors were stunned. What is Sun Wukong going to do? They were curious and puzzled, so they looked at it one by one. Lin Feng looked at the huge phantom of Tathagata Buddha in front of him. He could directly control the phantom of Tathagata Buddha. However, he was now playing the role of Sun Wukong. Moreover, Sun Wukong and Tathagata Buddha were two different characters presented to the world. Therefore, he had to speak from the perspective of Sun Wukong now. He carried the golden hoop on his shoulder, and then explained the situation. Buddha Tathagata, I have killed all the monsters, but I can't do anything about the dead mortals. Please be kind and revive them all. Hearing this, the survivors were collectively shocked. What? Exclamation mark. They looked at the shadow of Buddha Tathagata. Through what Lin Feng just said, they knew that this golden shadow was called Buddha Tathagata. But can he really revive all the dead? Everyone was unbelievable and uneasy. Chen Haitian looked at the shadow of Buddha Tathagata in shock. He didn't quite believe it. But Sun Wukong said so. Lin Feng's words fell for a long time, and the survivors looked at the shadow quietly, feeling nervous and excited, and some were worried about gains and losses, worried that it would be impossible to achieve such a thing. Sure enough, the golden shadow didn't answer. Everyone began to feel disappointed. Yes, how could such a thing be done? People are dead, and it is impossible to revive. But at this moment, Buddha Tathagata finally spoke. Amitabha, you monkey, don't worry, I will revive them. Thank you. Lin Feng smiled. In fact, the shadow of Tathagata Buddha was also controlled by him. However, now in front of the world, he had to pretend that Sun Wukong and Tathagata Buddha were talking. But when they heard the content of the conversation, the survivors were shocked and couldn't believe their ears. I agree. Fuck, can this really be done? I don't know. It's outrageous. People talked about it. I dare not believe that the dead can be resurrected. After the shadow of Tathagata Buddha said this, bursts of Sanskrit sound came out, as if countless people were chanting scriptures, and soon spread to all directions. For a time, the whole world was filled with Sanskrit sound. When people heard this Sanskrit sound, they immediately felt calm and peaceful. The emotions that had just fluctuated greatly were soothed. What is that sound? Yeah, it makes me calm down. Yeah, and it also gives me a comfortable feeling. Everyone, look up at the sky. The golden light shield is going to disappear. As soon as this was said, everyone looked up at the sky. The golden light shield became more and more transparent, and finally disappeared completely, along with the character. After the golden shield disappeared, lotus flowers began to grow on the devastated city. These lotus flowers bloomed quickly, after they grew out, full of vitality. And after blooming, dots of golden light flew out of the flowers, and drifted in all directions. Under the Buddhist chant, more and more lotus flowers bloomed, and more dots of golden light flew. They floated in the ruined city. On the ground, there was a corpse, and dots of golden light flew onto the corpse. The wounds on the corpse healed quickly at a speed visible to the naked eye, until it was completely healed. After a few seconds, the corpse moved, and finally climbed up with his hands on the ground. I'm not dead. What's going on? He didn't understand. He remembered that he was clearly dead, and such a scene was staged in various places in the city. Some people were buried under the rubble. But with a boom, huge lotus flowers grew out of the rubble, and then the buds opened, revealing people buried in the rubble. They looked surprised, and didn't know what had happened. They were clearly dead, so how could they still be alive? Others were injured, but not dead. But after being hit by the golden light, the wounds healed visibly. It healed in a few seconds, and there was no scar left. The dead were resurrected. After the people around them explained the situation, they also knew what was going on. They hugged their relatives and cried with joy. Some hugged their children, parents, etc. For a time, they were immersed in the joy of their relatives coming back to life. However, they were also shocked. The dead can actually be resurrected. In fact, this is no wonder. They don't understand myths and legends, so naturally they don't know that they can come back to life. And they don't understand the value of the character of Tathagata Buddha. After expressing their excitement and joy to their families, they all knelt down before the shadow of Tathagata Buddha and kowtowed, expressing their gratitude excitedly. Thank you, Sun Wukong. Thank you, Tathagata Buddha. Thank you, Sun Wukong. Thank you, Tathagata Buddha. Chapter 50. Just pretend and leave. There were more and more calls for thanks. Chen Haitian was also very excited. All the soldiers who had just died were resurrected. It's incomprehensible. It's simply incomprehensible. If such a thing could be done, what was it like in ancient times? At this moment, Chen Haitian became extremely curious and wanted to know what it was like in ancient times. Why is Sun Wukong so powerful? Why can Tathagata Buddha do such a thing? Thor looked around in amazement. People knelt on the ground and thanked the phantoms of Sun Wukong and Tathagata Buddha. Just now, he saw with his own eyes that the wounds of the dead people healed visibly after being sprinkled with golden light, and then they stood up. Some of them even had broken arms, but they grew back and resurrected. Incredible. Thor couldn't help shaking his head in surprise. Xiangjiang Temple. Ancient One was shocked and couldn't believe it. But the people who were resurrected in the city were telling him in disguise that all this was true. After a long while, he came back to his senses and accepted it. They can even do this kind of thing. It seems that I have underestimated the power they possess. What kind of power is this? Guyi became more and more curious about the power possessed by Sun Wukong and Tathagata Buddha. At the same time, he thought of a word in his mind. Tao. What is this Tao? Guyi said to himself. This is a word that he inexplicably understood when he saw Lin Feng's clone before. Tony woke up. After he saw the surrounding environment clearly, he sat up suddenly. Where am I? He was puzzled. But suddenly, he remembered what situation he was in. His heart tightened, and he looked out the window. But he saw that there was no alien figure outside the window. Instead, the sun was shining, and the years were peaceful. Huh. Tony looked confused. What's going on? But suddenly, he thought of something, and looked at his arm. But he was immediately shocked. The palladium element in the blood vessels on his arm disappeared. How could this happen? The symptoms of palladium poisoning disappeared? Tony said in disbelief. He was very clear about his physical condition at the time. He was severely poisoned by palladium, his internal organs were damaged, and his blood vessels were all black. He could not be saved. But now his blood vessels have returned to normal, and he didn't feel any discomfort or abnormality. This can't be the medical treatment of China, because there is no such powerful medical treatment. So, what happened during my coma? Tony is a genius and quickly figured out the problem. But he couldn't understand this situation. Why is he fine? This is too incredible. Loki looked at this scene in disbelief. The dead humans on Earth around him were resurrected, which was beyond his cognition. At the same time, he was more convinced that the information of the scholar Lin Feng was wrong. Suddenly, he saw something. His eyes lit up, and he immediately rushed over and picked it up. It turned out to be the cosmic cube. Great, I was looking for this thing, Loki said excitedly. Lin Feng had smashed the space tunnel device before, and the parts and fragments flew in all directions with the blue airwaves. Among them was the cosmic cube. I didn't expect that this thing would be picked up by Loki now. Loki no longer had the idea of attacking. He was uneasy and just wanted to run away. If Sun Wukong found him, he would be finished. He didn't hesitate, and quickly used the power of the cosmic cube to disappear on the spot. In the city, there were more and more cheers of gratitude. Lin Feng smiled. At this time, he found that Loki had escaped with the cosmic cube. I didn't expect it to be picked up by this kid. Lin Feng thought about it. Immediately, he didn't think about it anymore. After all, Loki would still be in some of the next events, and he had deceived him around, so it might be more interesting to keep him. At this time, the system prompt sounded in his ears. Ding. Congratulations to the master for completing the hero mission. The shock value reward is being settled. Settlement completed. Congratulations to the master for obtaining 100,000 shock value. 100,000 shock value? Lin Feng was shocked. Did he get so much in this hero mission? It seems that he only got 5,000 shock value last time. However, he thought about it and understood it. This time the crisis was much bigger than the last time, and the scene was grand and spectacular. There were also two characters, Sun Wukong and Tathagata Buddha, and Tathagata Buddha also showed his divine power of resurrection, which was a shocking method. So it was normal to get so many shock points. If there were not so many, maybe the system had deducted them privately. Lin Feng's thoughts drifted for a while, but he quickly recovered. I have obtained so many shock points, should I buy Erlang Shen's character card? When Lin Feng wrote the story of Sun Wukong, he decided that the next character to play would be Erlang Shen. After all, since the Chinese mythology was to return to the earth, it was natural to play other mythological characters. At this time, the system voice sounded again. Ding. Congratulations to the master for completing the first stage of the task. The system has been successfully upgraded and entered the second stage. Open all functions of the all 4 points redemption. The system has been upgraded. Lin Feng was happy, but he was not in a hurry to see it now, so he would study it after returning. After all, it was over. If Sun Wukong and Tathagata Buddha were still here, it would be a bit awkward. With this in mind, Lin Feng controlled the phantom of Tathagata Buddha and said, Amitabha. Now that the matter is over, I should leave. I have been sleeping for a long time. This time I'm only awakening for a short time. I will fall into a deep sleep for a while. However, the stars have moved, and in the endless years, the people of my era have passed their days. Others will wake up next. You humans are all carrying the blood of ancient ancestors. You must be pious and peaceful and not quarrel. Maybe, the glory of the past will be restored in the future. Amitabha. The phantom of Tathagata Buddha chanted a Buddhist name, and the huge phantom suddenly dispersed, turning into countless golden lights that dissipated in the air. This scene was very spectacular and beautiful. But when the people in the city heard this, they were collectively stunned. What do you mean? Is Tathagata Buddha going to fall asleep again? No way. What should we do if our earth is in danger again? Fuck, how can there be so many dangers? Do you think things like today happen every day? That's right. Besides, didn't Tathagata Buddha say that other characters will wake up? Fuck, I suddenly thought of one thing. Tathagata Buddha said that other characters will wake up. Do you remember that someone said this before? Who? Lin Feng, Professor Lin. Hiss. I remember it now. It seems that this really happened. Yes. How did he know? End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.